Good morning to everybody. Just letting you know, those who are on the counter early for the DV bench warrant counter, that counter starts at 11 o'clock, but you can stay on. Maybe we'll get to your counter before 11 o'clock, but you can stay on, but just have your camera turned off until the judge address you. So anybody who's on the counter early for the DV bench warrant counter, just have your camera turned off until the judge address you. I updated your information on your Zoom screen to let the judge know that you're here already online. So if we get to you early, that'll be great. If not, we'll have to wait till 11 o'clock because we have a counter before your counter at 9 o'clock. So, and it's a pretty hefty counter with a lot of defendants. So I can't tell you exactly what time we will get to your case, but we will address you before 11 o'clock or at 11 o'clock, just letting you know. So in the meantime, you can turn your camera off until the judge address you. She may be able to deal with you when we have a recess or anything. At that point, you're welcome to stay on, but just have your camera turned off until the judge address you. That goes for anybody else that's on the counter that's not part of the court staff. Have your camera turned off until the judge address you. And please refrain from chatting in the chat to the judge or to any other personnel because it is a distraction. Tariq, we're sending. Are you having trouble turning your camera off? I'll stop it for you.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we're going to begin with our misdemeanor state all-purpose calendar. These are misdemeanor cases which have already been formally accused. Most of the defendants should already have had their first appearance and bonds have been set in their cases. Today is technically what we would call a plea and arraignment calendar. The defendants have had an opportunity to confer with their defense counsel. And when I call your case, I will get an announcement of how the defendant would like to proceed, whether they would like to accept a plea offer from the prosecution, and hence we'll have a plea hearing. Otherwise, we will arraign the case upon the entry of a not guilty plea and have it rescheduled for trial. Other matters that we will also be addressing this morning are bench warrants in domestic violence cases, as well as our competency calendar, and perhaps also certain hearings for bond modifications. If you are a defendant charged with one or more misdemeanor offense, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say about the facts or circumstances of your case during this virtual court proceeding that's not only being recorded but also live streamed, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Okay.
Good morning, Judge. I'm sorry to interrupt. How you this morning, Ms. Lewis?
Good.
I have a couple announcements and also to the PD. Those reset dates that they have addressed on their announcement. We're gonna have to make adjustments to those dates because our counters are at a certain capacity already for those dates that they're asking for. And we're gonna have to adjust, like another week out on the 27th. It's possible for, the cases that reset for the 18th because we are really at our capacity in the jail, only want us to be at so many defendants. And, I would just want to let people know for those resets, we cannot reset nothing to no Tuesday or to, next Thursday. It has to be the week after.
Okay, so what's the next available SAP date?
Will be the 27th.
Okay, 2/27, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who am I addressing first? Is it ACDC? Good morning, Deputy Milton. How are you?
Good morning, Your Honor. I have before you petitions 34 and 35,
Okay,
and her attorney is on this with Mr. Stephen Freeberg.
I'm Mr. Friedberg, is that your client?
Yes, it is, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Friedberg, have you had an opportunity to get a plea offer from the prosecution?
I have not at this point, Your Honor, but if I may, just for very, very briefly, Ms. Morris has some other cases that are pending before Judge Edline as well, and we were hoping to have a global resolution. And then I would also like to, so I don't know that we'll be able to actually resolve it today, but I'm certainly willing to talk with the solicitor and see what we can do. But I think that I have to take into account the other cases. And in addition, I'm asking the court if I could speak very briefly when the court has time on a modification of her bond conditions, because she's not going to be able to get out of bond at this point with all cash bonds.
All right. Who's the prosecutor in this case? Ms. Mukeke?
That's me, Your Honor, and it looks like she's positions 34 through 38. So I can go ahead and send an offer for all of those positions for Ms. Morris.
Are these the all the open cases that are presently before Judge Edline as well?
No, ma'am.
So there are addition cases to these 5?
There are an additional 7 cases.
All right. Mr. Friedberg, I would think it would be best for you to reach out to Ms. Mukeke. And these matters will, if you want to arraign these cases today, they will all then be further noticed directly to Judge Edline's docket.
Well, I believe that's what Judge Edline would require, so that they'll all be in one courtroom. They
All
were
right.
in other courtrooms, and they've slowly but surely over the last 2 years have been consolidated. I can give you case numbers if the court needs.
I have the cases that are currently on my calendar. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you're telling me there are additional cases?
There are.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Your Honor, there are 7 other cases.
Okay. Are they all in state court or superior court as well?
State court. Everyone's in state court. All Judge Edline.
Mr. Friedberg, I can only give you an opportunity to speak to the prosecutor after this proceeding, which will be for another couple of hours. So if you want to consolidate all of them before the division judge, then I will be glad to arraign all 5 cases. Or if you want to file a waiver of arraignment, then the clerk's office will be directed to fast track them to Judge Edline's docket.
They already been arraigned, Judge.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
they have? Okay.
Yeah, because they're DUI cases.
Okay. So that's what I'll do then. If they've already been arraigned, then I'm going to further notice them for trial to Judge Edline.
Can I speak though with the solicitor in regard to maybe he might, or he or she might consent to a bond modification when I explain it to them where we are?
Oh, let me see. Ms. Mukeke, is there another prosecutor available?
ASG Simmons is on. She can handle her cases.
Okay. All right.
Good morning. Good morning, Judge Love.
Ms. Simmons, let me see. All right, let's do that. Miss, who's our host this morning?
Miss Grace, Judge.
Grace, there she is. Okay. Miss Grace, could you put Mr. Friedberg and Miss Mukeke into a breakout? This breakout cannot last more than 5 minutes, folks. I know you want to talk, but I have 57 cases to get through this morning.
Thank you, Your Honor. I certainly do appreciate it.
Thank you. Deputy Milton, we'll have to address Ms. Morris later once her attorney is available. And so I'm going to move on to Ms. Simmons. Ms. Simmons, which cases do you have? From what
Good morning, Judge. I've got positions 1 through 28.
Okay. Courtroom 2, do you have anyone from positions 1 through 28 available at the present time?
Yes, Your Honor. We could go to position number 26, Mr. Gress.
Okay.
Kim. I'm sorry, Judge. Good morning. Quick question. I do have an announcement. As far as for Ms. Morris, does she need a breakout?
No, she's her attorney is in a breakout with the prosecutor, and then we'll address her in about 5 minutes or 4 minutes now.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Position number 26, sorry. Oh.
It's going
Okay,
to be a negotiated plea, Judge.
okay, thank you, sir. This is State versus David Gress, G-R-E-S, accused of 1 count of battery family violence, 1 count of simple battery family violence, and 3 counts of cruelty in the 3rd degree. From January 30th, 2025, accusation 25 CR 505J. Mr. Gress, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. White. May I place you the oath? Other right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Simmons, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. With respect to count 1, it's 12 months served 30 days with credit for 15 days served, balance probated, with special conditions 40 hours community service, family violence intervention program, no further contact with Rosalinda Vega, and a third-party transfer of children must be arranged. Count 2 will merge with count 1. Count 3 will be 12 months probation to run concurrent with count 1. Count 4, 12 months probation to run concurrent with count 1. And count 5, 12 months probation to run concurrent with count 1.
Okay, thank you. Mr. White, does your client accept these terms, and do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
We stipulate, Judge, and yes, that is the negotiated plea.
Mr. Gress, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes, ma'am. I can do that.
And are you entering this plea willingly, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to enter this plea, you would have to give up your right to a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You will not get the chance to go back to court, to face your accuser, challenge the evidence brought against you, be able to have your attorney help you to present your defense and arguments, and also to the prosecution will not have to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay.
Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes.
How do you plead to 1 count of battery family violence and 3 counts of cruelty in the 3rd degree?
Guilty.
Repeat.
Guilty.
For count 1, your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. The remainder of the time you'll be on probation.
Okay.
Report to the Fulton County Probation on Monday, and
Okay.
that date will be February 17th,
Okay.
and you must report before 3 p.m.
Okay. I'll do
The
that.
probation office is located at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta.
Okay.
While you're on probation, you are to have no contact with Rosalinda Vega. You have
Okay.
to stay 200 yards away from her, and
Okay.
you cannot communicate with her in any way, form, or manner.
Okay.
That means you cannot even go to a home, and you
Okay.
cannot be seen anywhere near the house. Understood?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
You are allowed third-party transfer of the children that you share with Miss Vega. In other
So I can still see the kids, or I can't see the kids?
you can-
Yes. I'm sorry, Judge.
That's okay.
As explained this morning, yes, you just have to go through a third party to get them.
Oh,
You can't-
okay. All right. I'll do it. All right.
A third party will have to be selected in order for the children to be picked up and then dropped back with Miss Vega.
Okay. That's fine.
You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And you cannot contact Miss Vega about this visitation. It has to only be done through the third party.
Okay.
So is someone who is acceptable to Ms. Vega and to you.
Can I have, I have another question. Can it be like my mom or no, it can't be my mom?
I don't know. Do your mom and Ms. Vega get along well?
Nah, not really. I mean,
Then you need to pick somebody else.
okay, I'll do that. That's fine.
Okay, maybe one of Ms. Vega's friends, or a
Okay,
family member.
okay,
And you are to, while you're on probation, you're also to complete 40 hours
okay,
community service. You must do that with any non-profit company, but it cannot be a church and it cannot be a school.
okay.
And you must do a minimum of at least 5 hours per month.
Okay,
More than that, but must be minimum 5 hours.
okay,
Then the other thing is you have to enroll in a program called Domestic Violence Intervention.
okay,
And you must enroll in those classes within 30 days of being released.
yes,
So
ma'am.
ask your probation officer if they know a list of schools where these classes are offered.
Okay,
And within 30 days, you must show proof of enrollment to your probation officer.
okay. Do that.
All right, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gress, you've just pleaded guilty and you're convicted of battery family violence. If there is any future arrest for battery family violence, that could be a felony charge.
Okay,
So please take that into consideration.
I
Good
will.
luck with your case. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is going to be position number 11 and 12, Ms. Burnett.
This is Raven Burnett, accused of criminal trespass from May 2nd, 2024 in case 24 CR 2720E. And she's got a bench warrant, 25 FTA 254 from June 17th, 2024. Ms. Burnett, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is going to be Mr. Chate. Okay, there he is. All right. Mr. Chate, this is going to be a plea.
Yes, Your Honor, it's a negotiated plea.
Thank you. Ms. Burnett, please raise your right hand. Raven Burnett, do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Simmons, what's the recommendation for Ms. Burnett?
Yes, Your Honor. With regard to the single count of criminal trespass, the recommendation is 12 months probation, 12 months, served 22 days with credit for 11 days served, balance suspended, stay away from Avis rental car located at 143 Cortlandt Street, Northeast Atlanta.
And the state will null pros the bench warrant?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Chate, does your client agree to these terms and do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
Yes, my client agrees to the terms and I stipulate to factual basis, ID, and venue.
Thank you, sir. You may put your hand down, Ms. Burnett. Thank you. Ms. Burnett, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you
I have not.
Good. Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney services?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to criminal trespass, you would have to give up your right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court to confront the folks who are accusing you, to be able to challenge the evidence that will be brought against you, to present your own defenses and arguments, and the prosecutor will not have to prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass at the Avis car rental place?
I plead guilty.
Your sentence is going to be 12 months to serve 22 days, credit for time served 11 days, balance suspended. Your obligations for this case is over. However, you are to stay away from the Avis rental shop at 143 Cortlandt Street in Atlanta. If you are seen at the sidewalk, at the parking lot, or in the store, you will be arrested again.
I'm sorry, Judge, if I may. I
Yeah.
think I misspoke with regard to the recommendation. The recommendation is actually 12 months, serve 22 days with credit for time served, the balance of days to serve suspended, and the balance of the sentence on probation.
Well, it's that
Can't
is
be both.
conflicting. Ms.
I'm sorry,
Simmons,
Judge?
is either balance suspended or balance probated. So
Balance probated, Judge.
are you certain? And what do you want her to do while on probation?
Let me just look at my notes quickly, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Chate, can you clarify also what was your offer relate to your client?
Your Honor, the offer I have on the sheet here is balance suspended. So that's what we agreed to with the state.
Okay. Yes, Judge. My apologies.
No problem.
I misread the notation. It's balance suspended.
Ms. Simmons, don't worry. We've had this in the past and we'll still have in the future, but as long as we clarify it, that's perfectly fine. All right, so it is balance suspended. And Ms. Burnett, like I said, your obligations for this case is over. But if you return to the Avis rental shop again, you'll be back in jail. Just FYI. The bench warrant will be dismissed. Thank you. All right, Ms. Mokeke, have we addressed positions 34 through 38 through, what was it? Well, the Sanaz Morris cases?
Yes, Your Honor, we have. She currently $50,000 cash bond that you set on the 31st. After the conversation with her attorney, it seems like her husband has some pretty serious medical issues. So we would consent, if Your Honor would allow, to that $50,000 cash bond being turned to a surety bond on the condition that she does not drive. She goes to AA meetings 2 times a day. She wears an ankle monitor, and she does random screens for alcohol and non-prescription drugs.
All
That
right.
is correct, Your Honor.
All right. And so, Mr. Friedberg, if you will submit proposed orders for titled order amending bond with consent, with the prosecution's consent, we'll need separate proposed orders for each of these cases, amending each of them to a surety bond and with an outline that with the conditions that have been agreed to.
I will do that. And may I ask for an email to submit that to the court?
It will be Katrina Lewis at fultoncountyga.gov. That'll be Katrina with a C, Catrina .Lewis, Lewis
And it's already in the chat, Judge. I had put it in the chat earlier. I have put in the chat earlier, sir. If you look in the chat to everyone, it says, please send all please paperwork to the order to me. I don't know if you see it or not.
Memorizing your email all this time. Okay.
I appreciate it, Judge.
All right. So positions 34 through 38, bonds are amended for consent and further notice for trial. Ms. Lewis, if you could take these cases with Sanaz Morris and bring them to the attention of Judge Edline's case manager, that they need to be consolidated with her other cases so that Mr. Friedberg can address them.
I looked at them, Judge. All of them are on Judge Edline's docket. So every last 7 one of them are already underneath. As a matter of fact, she has a court date set for February the 28th on all these cases.
All right. You have that date, Mr. Friedberg. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yes, sir. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next case, please.
Are we still on Ms. Simmons cases or we could just go?
Oh, no, you can now move around. Thank you.
Okay, Your Honor, we can go to position number 56 through 57, Mr. Wickworth.
This is negotiated plea, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Kim. This is State versus James Wickworth, accused of reckless conduct in accusation 23 CR. 8324Y. And he's got a bench warrant, 25 FTA 249. Mr. Wickware, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Ms. Kim. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Give just 1 second. Mr. Marquez Clemens, your case isn't till 11 o'clock in the morning. You are free to sit in on these proceedings, but switch your video off. Thank you. All right. Ms. Mokeke, what is the recommendation for Mr. Wickware?
The recommendation is 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days. The balance probated that he have no further contact with a Wanthry Whiteside, that he take a gun safety course, have no firearms in his possession, and complete 40 hours of community service. We will no pros the FTA upon this plea, and I would ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification.
Your Honor, we would like to request for, he has been unemployed right now. We would like to request for 2 months of probation fees to be waived. And once he completes the classes, we want the probation to be terminated.
Well, he has community service as well, so. And Ms. Mokeke, what was the first name of the victim?
Owanthry, Owanthry. Owanthry.
Okay, and that was Whiteside, right?
Yes, Whiteside, Your Honor.
Let me see. Okay, I'll allow for 2 months waiver of probation, and he must complete the gun safety class and complete the 40 hours of community service and be up to date with his probation fees. And if all these conditions are met, I will allow it to be non-reporting.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Wickware, have you consumed any medicine? I'm sorry, Ms. Kim, did you stipulate?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Wickware, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol?
Well,
I only have a few questions.
All right, I know there's sound in the background in courtroom 2, but Mr. Wickware, if you can speak up so I can hear you. Have you consumed? Okay. And have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes.
And if you decide to plead guilty to this charge of reckless conduct, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not go back to court to confront your accuser in front of a judge or a jury to be able to challenge the evidence that'll be brought against you, present your own arguments and defenses, and have the state prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes.
How do you plead to 1 count of reckless conduct involving a firearm?
Guilty.
Your sentence is going to be 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days. If you have no other holds, you'll be released within 24 hours, but you must report to Fulton County Probation on Monday, February 17th. Oh, shoot. Is it a holiday on the 17th?
It is a holiday. That's President. We're closed that day. And I'm pretty sure probation is closed. What was that again?
Is probation open?
No, they're not open. Ms. Thomas, I think you're on the line for probation. Can you answer that question for the judge?
All right, let me just amend that. I'm sorry. It just struck my noggin that it is a holiday on Monday, February 17th. In that case, Mr. Wickware, you'll report to probation on Tuesday, which is February 18th before 3 p.m. While you're on probation, you're to complete 40 hours of voluntary community service with any nonprofit agency that's not a church and not a school. But you must complete a minimum of 5 hours per month. You are also to enroll and complete a gun safety program. And you can either do your research and find out which schools offer such gun safety courses, or you may consult with your probation officer. Do you understand?
Yes.
And you must enroll, complete, and present your certificate of completion to your probation officer.
Okay.
At all times while you are on probation, whether it's active or Non-reporting. You're not allowed to have any firearms on your person, in your home, in any vehicle you occupy, or anywhere near you. Within 7 days of being released, you are to surrender all firearms to the law enforcement, whichever is the closest police precinct, and you're to surrender them for destruction. If you have, I'll waive 2 months of probation fees, which means at this present time, that'll be for February and for March. So April 1st, you will need to start paying your probation fees. If your probation fees are up to date, you've completed the gun safety class and the 40 hours community service, your probation may then be non-reporting, but still no possession of firearms. Thank you. And the bench warrants null pros.
Thank you.
This is gonna be position number 33, McNeil. This is a pro se.
This is pro se plea, Your Honor.
All right. This is State versus Angel McNeil, accused of battery, family violence from January 29th, 2025, under case number 25 CR 482C. Ms. McNeil, my name is Judge Law. I just need to remind you that you have a right to remain silent about the facts and circumstances of your case. You have a right to an attorney. Anything you say about the facts and circumstances, those statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be glad to be appointed and represent you and provide his or her legal services. However, if you choose to waive your right to appointed counsel, then you have a right to hire an attorney at your own expense, or you can waive your counsel and choose to represent yourself. If you represent yourself, you are responsible for understanding the law and the procedures as they apply to the facts of your case, and you are legally responsible for the impact from any legal decision you make as to how it may have upon other circumstances, such as open cases, your ability to get a job, your ability to get a driver's license, and so forth. Would you like appointed counsel, or did you want to continue to represent yourself? You need to sit up and answer the question, please. I can't hear you.
Continue to represent myself.
I heard you say continue to represent yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how are we proceeding in this case, Ms. Mokeke?
Your Honor, she also has an add-on for a DUI and a driving without a valid license. That's 23 CR 007139C.
And that was for driving without a valid license?
And a DUI.
And a DUI. So these are the two cases?
Yes, the battery, family violence, and then the case I just mentioned.
Okay. And so how are we proceeding with both matters?
Just the state's recommendation for the battery, family violence is 12 months to serve 32 days, credit for time served 16 days, no further violent contact with Vivian McNeil, an FVIP, no firearms, and 40 hours of community service. Our office has spoken to the victim who agrees with the plea. For the add-on for count 1, it's going to be 12 months balance probated, that she take an ADET, do a risk reduction course, do a victim impact panel, $300 fine, 40 hours of community service. For count 2, the driving without a valid license, that is 12 months to run concurrent with count 1 and to pay a $500 fine, both cases to run concurrently.
Ms. McNeil, that is the plea offer for both the cases. What would you like to do? You need to speak up.
I like to plead guilty for all charges.
Deputy Francois, I think she's too far away from the microphone on the computer because I can barely hear her.
I plead guilty for all charges presented before me, and I like to accept the plea that was presented before me as well.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? All right. And Ms. McNeil, you have heard the plea offer. You understand that you'll be on probation to complete several classes, including the Family Violence Intervention Program. You'll need to do a minimum of 80 hours. Oh, sorry, it's concurrent. So are you accepting the 40 hours, Ms. Mukeke, for both cases? You're on mute, Ms. Mukeke?
My intention was for it to be 80 hours.
Okay, so you'll need to do 80 hours of community service as well as do the programs for the DUI case. Yes or no?
Yes,
And how are you planning to pay for it?
I was hoping I was gonna ask him the fines that I have to pay, and maybe convert it into the hour service.
When did you ask for that?
When I talked to my public defender who came and seen me yesterday, she told me that I should be allowed to ask you that. If not, then I told her that I will work on paying the fines that have been presented for me.
There's a $300 fine for the DUI case. And you
She told me
understand?
She told me the total of $800 in all.
I'm sorry?
She told me a total of $800 in all.
Well, yes, it's an $800 fine because you've got the $500 fine for the driving while without a valid license. So yes.
Ma'am, I told her that I will work on paying. She said I don't have to pay all of it at once. I'm gonna make the payments on it. It should be no issue. And she told me to also to ask you if y'all doesn't mind
You have $800 fine, plus you have to pay for domestic violence classes. That's 26 weeks of classes. Plus you have to do the risk reduction program. So these are all classes that you would need to complete. How do you plan to pay for those?
I didn't know about paying for the classes, but I will make do.
I don't think you understand what you are agreeing to, Ms. McNeil.
I do, I didn't know that I had to pay for the classes, that part that I did for her and didn't get those, but I will be able to pay for the classes.
And you understand that if you violate the terms of this probation, it will be revoked and you'll be back in jail to serve the rest of the time.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And you understand that even though you don't have a valid license, you won't be allowed to drive until you have a valid license. You won't be allowed to drive for 12 months. And then after that, I don't know whether you can apply for a license. I don't know what your situation is.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that as well.
Okay. Now you have to agree that you are the correct defendant for both cases.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you agree that all the criminal offenses charged in both cases occurred in Fulton County, Georgia?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Mukeke, would you like to allocute the factual basis?
Yes, Your Honor. For the battery family violence, the victim in that case is Vivian McNeil. The defendant is accused of hitting the victim, who is her aunt, in the face, causing an injury to her eye area. There are multiple witnesses on the scene, 2 of whom confirmed that the defendant was the primary aggressor.
And what about the DUI?
For the DUI, the defendant is accused of being under the influence of drugs while operating a motor vehicle and also driving without a valid license. She was not able to pass the field sobriety exams conducted by the officers. Blood tests came back positive for THC.
So, Ms. McNeil, based on this factual basis, I'm also going to impose the requirement of random screens. You're not allowed to drink any alcoholic beverages and consume any illegal drugs while you're on probation. Is that acceptable to you?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right. Now, Ms. Mukeke has gone through the alleged summary of the factual basis for both cases. Do you agree with the factual basis? I can't hear you.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Have you consumed any medicine or drugs in the recently? You need to speak up, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
And have you understood what's going on in both your cases?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Have you understood the plea offer as presented by the prosecution?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And are you prepared to undertake and pay for these programs that you're required to complete for probation?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you entering this plea of guilty to both cases freely, willingly, and voluntarily?
Ma'am, I am.
You understand that you would be convicted of battery, family violence, and any subsequent arrest for a similar offense will be a felony charge.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
All right? If you decide to plead guilty to these charges, you would have to give up your right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court. You will not be able to ask for a trial before a judge or a jury. You will not be able to confront those accusing you of these charges, to challenge the evidence that we brought before you in a court of law, to be able to have an attorney assist you to present your arguments, your defenses, and any mitigating factors you may have. And also the prosecutor will not have to carry her burden to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
You understand that by pleading guilty to these charges, it can have an impact, a negative impact upon your residency, if applicable, upon your job, upon your ability to get a driver's license, upon your ability to acquire any professional licenses. Are you prepared to still move forward?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Under case 25 CR 482C, how do you plead to battery, family violence involving Vivian McNeil from January 29th, 2025?
Guilty.
Repeat.
Guilty.
Under case 23 CR 007139C, how do you plead to driving under the influence of drugs and driving without a valid license?
Guilty.
For the battery, family violence, your sentence is 12 months to serve 32 days, credit for time served 16 days. If you have no other holds, you should be released within 24 hours, but you must report to Fulton County Probation on Tuesday, February 18th before 3 p.m. While you're on probation, are you listening?
Yes, ma'am.
While you're on probation, you are to have no further violent contact with Vivian McNeil. In other words, you can communicate with Miss McNeil, but there cannot be any physical or verbal altercations. You are to enroll in a domestic violence intervention program within 60 days of being released, and you must attend and complete all 26 classes at your expense without missing or skipping any classes. You're also to complete 40 hours of community service with any nonprofit agency that's not a church and not a school, and you must complete those hours at a minimum rate of 10 hours per month. With regards to the DUI and driving without a valid license, your sentence for the DUI is going to be 12 months to serve 32 days, credit for time served 16 days, balance probated. Again, you will report to probation at the time that I've indicated. While you're on probation, you're to complete an alcohol and drug evaluation and submit yourself to treatment if the evaluator requires it, and that you must do within 15 days of being released. So within 2 weeks of being released, you must go to a healthcare provider and get an alcohol and drug evaluation. Then while you're on probation, you're to complete a risk reduction program, attend one victim impact panel, pay a $300 fine, and complete an additional 40 hours of community service, which means you have a total of 80 hours of community service to complete. So remember, you have to do your community service at a minimum rate of 10 hours per month. For the driving without a valid license is going to be 12 months concurrent with the battery charge as well. And you have an additional $500 fine. So that's a total of an $800 fine plus the 80 hours of community service. At all times, you're not allowed to own, possess, or have any firearms around you, and you are subject to random screens for illegal drugs and alcohol. While you're on probation, you're not to consume any alcoholic beverages and not to consume any illegal drugs, including THC. If you violate any of the conditions of this probation, your probation can be revoked and you would have to serve out the rest of the time in prison. Make sure that you pay your probation fees on time and you comply with the schedule as outlined by the court. Thank you.
Judge, can you please let her know her fine is gonna be more than $800 with the surcharges?
All right. Ms. McNeil, did you hear that? In addition to the $800 fine, the county does impose certain surcharges in addition to your probation fees. So please get a job as soon as possible because it's going to be quite expensive for the next 12 months.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank
Next, Your Honor, we can go to position 1 through 4, Mr. Emoji.
Okay. Is Attorney Brian Howard available?
I'm Attorney Donnie Pulliam. I'm with Mr. Howard.
Right, Mr. Pulliam. All right, sir. Mr. Pulliam, how are we moving forward, with Mr. Emoji's cases?
Today, Your Honor, we're going to accept the negotiated plea between the state.
All right. Mr. Emoji, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Emoji has 4 cases, 23 CR 3883E, theft by taking, 23 CR 5567E, another count of theft by taking, and these were from 2023. He's got 2 bench warrants, 25 FTA 233 and 25 FTA 234. Mr. Emoji, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Mr. Donnie Pulliam. Do you see him on the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's the recommendation for Mr. Emoji?
The state's recommendation with respect to 23 CR 0038883E is 12 months serve 26 days with credit for time served 13 days, balance on probation. Stay away from 502 Berkeley Road, Atlanta. No further contact with Karina Pitts, Kareena Pitts, and an anti-theft course.
All right. Thank you. And is this a concurrent sentence for position 2?
Yes, Your Honor. It's a global resolution of both cases. But with respect to position 2, the special conditions are stay away from 349 Edgewood Avenue, Atlanta. No further contact with Khalida Poindexter, Khalida Poindexter, and $50 in restitution.
To Ms. Poindexter?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
And the state will null pros positions 3 and 4.
Thank you. Mr. Pulliam, are these the terms to which your client has agreed? And do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID for the 2 theft by taking charges?
We so stipulate, Your Honor, and those are the terms that we agreed to. I would further like to ask that after Mr. Emoji has completed the anti-theft course and paid the required restitution, that his probation terminate. He does not have much criminal history at all, Your Honor, and so he also has valid employment, as well as a former veteran, and so we would ask that the probation terminate after he completes his required conditions of probation.
And Ms. Simmons, do you have any objection to termination? I'm inclined to do non-reporting since it was 2 theft cases from 2 separate victims in the same year. So
yes, Your Honor. The state would not agree to termination, but would agree to non-reporting.
Mr. Pulliam, is non-reporting satisfactory?
We've discussed that, Your Honor. That'll be satisfactory, yes.
Okay. Mr. Emoji, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood what's going on in your cases?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you decide to plead guilty to these two charges, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not go back to court, face your accuser, challenge evidence that will be brought before you, present any arguments and defenses with the assistance of counsel, and the state will not have to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you entering your plea freely, willingly, and knowingly?
Yes, I am.
How do you plead to the 2 counts of theft by taking from April 8th, 2023 and September 17th, 2023?
Guilty.
Your sentence is going to be a concurrent sentence for both charges. It's 12 months to serve 26 days, credit for time served 13 days. The rest of the time will be on probation. You will report to the Fulton County Probation Services on Tuesday, February 18th before 3 p.m. While you're on probation, you will enroll and complete an anti-theft class, and you must enroll within 45 days of being released and present your certificate of completion to your probation officer. At all times, you are to stay away from 502 Berkeley Road in Atlanta, Georgia, and 349 Edgewood Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. And you are to have no contact with Katrina Pitts and Kalia Poindexter. In addition to that, you have a $50 restitution requirement, and you are to pay those restitution charges within the first 90 days of probation, and the $50 will be paid directly to your probation officer, who will then remit it to Ms. Kalia Poindexter. After you have paid off your restitution, you have completed your anti-theft class, and you're up to date with your probation fees. Your probation may then be non-reporting for both cases. The bench warrants on positions 3 and 4 are null prost. Anything else, Mr. Pulliam?
And that is all, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Emoji.
Number 40, Parker.
And Ms. Mokeke, is this the only case for Ms. Parker?
This is the only case that I have for Ms. Parker, Your Honor.
Okay. State.
I apologize, but this is also pro se plea.
Oh, okay. This is State versus Makiba Parker, accused of criminal trespass from September 14th, 2024, case 25CR610J. Ms. Parker, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. With regards to your right to counsel, if you choose to represent yourself, you're responsible for all legal decisions and how it may impact your personal situation, including your ability to get a job, a driver's license, any kind of occupational license, as well as any negative impact on any open cases. Are you prepared to represent yourself from this point, or would you like to have appointed counsel?
Appointed counsel.
All right. Ms. Kim, is there a reason why the public defender's office is withdrawing?
I will talk to her about that. Maybe she didn't understand clearly.
Thank you. Next case, please. Ms. Parker, Ms. Kim will have to reach out to you at ACDC to speak with you.
I'll give you a call, Ms. Kim.
Sure, thank you.
The next position we can go to is Mr. Finley, position 24 through 25.
This will be a negotiated plea, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. White. This is State versus Darwin Finley, accused of willful obstruction of an officer, criminal trespass, and theft by shoplifting from May 21st of last year, case 24CR3194C. He's got a bench warrant also, 25 FTA 242. Mr. Finley, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Mr. White. May I place you under oath? You solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge.
Ma'am.
Ms. Simmons, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. With respect to count one, time served 120 days with credit for 60 days served. Count two, 12 months probation concurrent with count one. Count three, 12 months, serve 120 days, credit for 60 days served, balance probated, a $500 fine, anti-theft course, 40 hours of community service, stay away from Texaco gas station located at 3 Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard.
All right, Mr. White, does your client accept these terms and do you so stipulate to factual basis, venue, and ID?
Yes, and yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Finley, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
Medicine, yes, ma'am. I take hypertension medication.
Okay. After consuming your medication, are you still able to understand your attorney and what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
And are you prepared to enter this plea to the charges freely, willingly, and voluntarily?
I am, ma'am.
So you understand that if you decide to plead guilty to these charges, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not be going back to a court of law for these cases to face your accuser, challenge evidence that we brought against you, have the assistance of counsel to present your defenses and arguments, and the prosecutor will not have to carry her burden to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand that if you collect more than 3 shoplifting convictions on your record, any subsequent arrest will be a felony arrest.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, criminal trespass, and theft by shoplifting?
Guilty, ma'am.
The willful obstruction is going to be time served, 120 days, credit for time served, 60 days. So the obligation for that charge is over. With regards to criminal trespass, is going to be 12 months probation concurrent with count 3. And with regards to the theft by shoplifting, the sentence is 12 months to serve 120 days, credit for time served 60 days. If you have no other cases holding you at the jail, you will be released within 24 hours, but you must report to probation on Tuesday, February 18th, 2025, before 3 p.m. While you're on probation, you will complete 40 hours of community service, which means that you do a community service with any nonprofit agency that's not a church and not a school, and you must do a minimum of 5 hours per month. You have to pay a $500 fine, and that fine you must make payments on that fine at a rate of $30. No, excuse me. It's 120 days, 60 days. So you must make a payment of $50 per month, minimum payment of $50 per month towards your fine, in addition to your probation fees. Within 60 days of being released, you must also enroll and complete an anti-theft class. The programs or the schools that offer this class, where you can ask your probation officer or you can do your research. If you select a particular school, make sure that it qualifies with your probation officer before you enroll and complete the class. Anything else, Mr. White?
Your Honor, we would just ask the probation terminate upon completion of his terms.
Ms. Simmons or pretrial, do you have his GCIC?
I don't have it. I can pull it up, Judge.
Maybe pretrial has it. I see Ms. Washington. This is position 24, excuse me, 24. Ms. Washington, if you're available.
Yes, ma'am. Just give me one moment.
No problem. Oh, in addition to while we're waiting, his bench warrant will be null prost.
And Judge, with respect to count 3, there's also a stay away from the Texaco gas station.
Yes. In addition to the $500 fine and the 40 hours, Mr. Findley, You're also required to stay 200 yards away from the Texaco gas station on Joseph Laurie Boulevard.
Yes, ma'am.
Who are seen anywhere near that location, including the parking lot or the sidewalks, or even in the store, you will be arrested and brought back to jail.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Just waiting on his GCIC.
Your Honor, there are 21 arrest cycles. The last arrest was in February the 3rd for parole violation. There was an FTA as well. Also, in May of this year, there was a theft by shoplifting, criminal trespass, and willful obstruction out of Atlanta.
Oh, that
No
was
dis-
that was the
Oh, I'm sorry. There was a 2019 theft by shoplifting, as well as giving a false name, and that theft by shoplifting was a felony out of Cobb County.
All right, that's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Finley, if you have completed all these programs, you'll still be required to report to probation, and are required to do so every month until the remainder of the 12 months is completed. Mr. White, with his February 2025 parole violation and FTA, is he able to be released within 24 hours?
Your Honor, my understanding is he was released on this case to parole and that he just is done with them.
I see. All right. So if he has no holds, then he'll report to probation on Tuesday, February 18th. All right. That concludes the case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Going back to position number 40, Parker.
All right. Ms. Makiba Parker, Ms. Kim, well, I guess not. Ms. Parker, are you representing yourself or are you represented by counsel?
Myself, Your Honor.
Myself.
Okay. And you waive your right to counsel after being so advised?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right. So please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
And how are we proceeding today, Ms. Mokeke?
Your Honor, the state's recommendation for Ms. Parker for her criminal trespass is 12 months to serve 304 days, credit for time served 152 days, the balance to be probated, that she have no further contact with Barry Williams, and that she paid $250 in restitution to Mr. Williams. The probation can go non-reporting once restitution is paid. This incident happened September 14th of 2024 at 1127 Hank Aaron Drive Southeast in Atlanta. The defendant is accused of damaging the victim's window by throwing what is believed to be a rock at it after engaging in a verbal dispute with the victim. Video footage was provided of the incident, and Ms. Parker is observed picking something off the ground and then throwing it at the victim's vehicle.
Okay. Ms. Parker, do you accept the terms of probation?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And do you agree that the defendant of this particular charge is you?
Yes, ma'am.
And it occurred in Fulton County?
Yes, ma'am.
And it occurred in the manner that Ms. Mokeke just described?
Yes, ma'am. That's true.
Have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you would have to give up your right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to a court of law to confront your accuser, challenge the evidence brought against you, and the prosecutor will not have to prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to criminal trespass?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 304 days, credit for time served 152 days. The remainder of the time will be placed on probation. If you are released within 24 hours, you report to probation on Tuesday, February 18th before 3 p.m. While you're on probation, you will report every month. You will start paying your probation fees every month, and you are to have no contact with Barry Williams, and you also need to pay your restitution of $250, which you will make a minimum payment of $50 per month. Once your restitution is paid off and the funds remitted to Mr. Williams, and as long as your probation fees are up to date, then your probation will be non-reporting. Thank you.
Gosh, I got a question. This is Miss Lewis. Since these people are pro se, who's doing the paperwork and sending it to me?
Miss Kim, you have it?
No, I believe, we have been, actually, solicitor has been doing that, Your Honor, when there's a pro se.
Who's been doing it?
Solicitors, ASG. They have the third page that we don't have, so that has been the way it has been.
All right, if I don't have the paperwork, that's just going to hold up their release. So please keep that in mind. If the public defender's office had spoken to them, but then now you withdraw because the defendant has chosen a different path, please make sure.
I'll be happy to do it for
I
her.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And, do you need the waiver of counsel page as well? You have? Okay. So we need paperwork for Makiba Parker as well as the other young lady I addressed earlier. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you.
I have Mr. Hicks, position number 27 and 28. He's a conflict.
All right. Do I have conflict counsel 26?
It's Ms. McLeod. She's on there.
Okay. What position? Oh, 27 and 28?
Correct.
All right. Do I have, oh, there she is. Good morning, Ms. McLeod.
Good morning, Your Honor. I apologize. I was just on with another judge.
No problem.
Yes,
This is Adkins Hicks. I'm assuming he's the gentleman at the medical unit?
yes, Claude Hicks, Your Honor.
Oh, Claude Hicks. Okay.
Yes, this is Mr. Hicks. There's a plea offer on the table which will allow him to get out of jail today, Your Honor, and I just need to discuss it with him.
Oh, okay. Miss Grace, if you could place Miss McLeod and medical in a breakout room, please.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Medical, please make a note on your screen. You're going to be placed in a breakout room. I hope there's a deputy there. All right, courtroom 2, while Ms. McLeod is conferring, do we have anyone in courtroom 2 or at ACDC?
We can go to position number 15 through 16, Mr. Chase. Yeah.
Who represents Mr. Chase? Mr. Chate?
Yes.
Okay. This is Roy Clifton Chase, and his case is 21 CR 6245E, accused of driving under the influence of alcohol, less safe, reckless driving, and illegal standing parking where prohibited from November 17th, 2019. And he's got a bench warrant from December 6, 2023, 25 FTA 241. Mr. Chase, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Chate. And Mr. Chate, how are we proceeding?
We're proceeding with the negotiated plea, Your Honor. However, I would ask this court to consider either suspending probation or going on non-reporting status once Mr. Chase meets the conditions.
All right, we'll consider that. Mr. Chase, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons, yes. What's
Yes,
the
Your Honor.
recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. The recommendation with respect to 21 CR 006245E, count 1, driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, 12 months to serve 22 days with credit for 11 days served, balance on probation, a $600 fine, 40 hours of community service, alcohol and drug evaluation and follow any recommended treatment, risk reduction, and 1 victim impact panel. Count 2 will merge with count 1, and count 3 time served 22 days, credit for 11 days served.
Mr. Shatay, does your client accept the terms and do you so stipulate?
Yes, and yes, Your Honor. I just had a question. Would it be possible for Mr. Chase to get an affidavit for first arrest from the court?
If this is his first DUI pursuant to his GCIC, that would be possible. Ms. Simmons or Ms. Washington? Can you confirm that this is Mr. Chase' first and only arrest for DUI?
Your Honor, I see a DUI arrest guilty from 2009 out of Virginia, Newport News, Virginia.
Mr. Shatay, can your client confirm that with you or does he dispute it?
Judge, it's outside the 10-year look back anyway, so.
Understood.
There was an arrest in 2019 for DUI.
Which
I'm not
is
sure if that's this case. Okay.
Anything else?
An arrest in 2021 for DUI. And then appears to be a DUI from 2025, January of this year out of Clayton County. No disposition was listed. And nothing further.
Request denied. All right. Would he still like to proceed with his plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Chase, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol?
No.
And have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes.
And are you entering this plea freely, willingly, and knowingly?
Yes.
If you decide to enter a plea to this case, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court and have a trial before a judge or a jury, confront your accuser, challenge evidence that would be presented against you, have your attorney assist you to present your arguments, defenses, and mitigating factors, and the prosecution would not have to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. In addition to that, you understand that pleading guilty to these charges will have a negative impact upon your ability to drive for the following year, and that it can also have an impact upon any other open cases, your residency if applicable, your ability to obtain a professional job license, or have an impact on your current job. Are you still willing to move forward?
Yes.
How do you plead to driving under the influence of alcohol less safe from November 17th, 2019?
Guilty.
How do you plead to illegal standing or parking where prohibited?
Guilty.
For the DUI, your sentence is 12 months to serve 22 days, credit for time served 11 days. The remainder of time you'll be on probation. Mr. Shatay, is he able to be released within 24 hours or does he have any holds?
I'm not aware of any holds for him. I think he will be released in 24 hours.
Well, I just heard about his other open cases, so I want to make sure there are no other FTAs or anything to that effect. So, Mr. Chase, if you have no other holds in any of the other cases, then you'll be released within 24 hours. And if you are released, then please make sure you report to the Fulton County Probation on Tuesday, February 18th before 3 p.m. While on probation, you will do the following. For DUI, is going to be pay a $600 fine, and you are required to pay that at a minimum rate of $60 an hour, $60 a month. You have to complete 40 hours of community service, and you have to complete that at a minimum rate of 5 hours per month. Within 30 days, you are to enroll in an alcohol and drug evaluation and submit yourself to any treatment or counseling that's required at your expense. You're also to attend and complete a risk reduction program and one victim impact panel within 90 days of being released. At all times while you're on probation, you are to report every month and be up to date with your probation fees. You are not to consume any illegal drugs, and you're not to consume any alcoholic beverages, and probation is required to do a random screen of any alcohol and or illegal drugs while you are on probation. Your driving license will be suspended for a minimum period of 12 months, and then after 12 months, you will be eligible for reinstatement unless there are any other matters prohibiting reinstatement. Thank you.
Right.
Next case, please. Oh, and his bench warrant will be null prost.
Position number 46, Simpson.
46. Tracy Simpson is accused of battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree from January 29th of this year, 25 CR 486G. Ms. Simpson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Kim. Ms. Kim, how are you proceeding?
Negotiated plea, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Simpson, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Mokeke?
Your Honor, the state's recommendation for Ms. Simpson is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days, the balance to be probated, that she have no further violent contact with any of her minor children, that she follow any DFACS orders regarding contact with her children, that she have no further contact with Shanika Miller, that she stay away from 1480 Graham Street in Atlanta, that she undergo an FBIP, undergo an MHET, and that she have no firearms in her possession. That was, of course, for count 1. Count 2 will be 12 months to run concurrent with count 1. I would ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for purposes of the plea.
Yes, we do.
Ms. Simpson, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
That was a no?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes.
Are you yes?
I have a question about the children part.
Ms. Simpson, I already answered you yesterday twice. It will be the same answer.
Okay.
The requirement would be that you're to have no violent contact with the minor children that you have, and that you're required to comply with all DFACS orders, requirements, and plans with regards to the care and raising of the children that are currently in existence. Is that what's been explained to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As I was saying, are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes.
And are you entering this plea freely, willingly, and knowingly?
Yes.
If you decide to enter this plea, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You will not be able to confront your accuser, challenge evidence that will be brought against you, be able to present your own defenses and arguments, and the prosecutor will not have to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of battery, family violence, and 1 count of cruelty in the third degree?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. The remainder of the time you'll be on probation. If you're released within 24 hours, you must report to probation on Tuesday, February 18th before 3 p.m. Probation is located at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. While on probation, you will complete a domestic violence intervention program and you are to enroll in that program within 30 days of being released. You must attend and complete all 26 classes without missing or skipping any of the classes, and you have to pay for those classes out of your own pocket. Within 10 days of being released, you are to undergo a MH evaluation and submit yourself to any treatment, counseling, and/or medication and be compliant with said treatment. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
At all times, you're to have no violent contact with your minor children, and you must be in compliant with all plans, evaluations, or orders issued by the Department of Family and Children Services. You are to have no further contact with Shanika, was it Miller?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
All right. You have to stay 200 yards away from Miss Miller and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. No firearms. You're not allowed to own or possess any firearms. And you have to stay away from, I believe it was 1480 Grand Avenue.
I have 480 Graham Street, Atlanta.
Oh, 480 Grant Street in Atlanta. So you cannot return to that location.
Your Honor, can she have a one-time law enforcement officer escorted visit to retrieve her personal belongings, Your Honor? And also, we would like to request for the first 2 months of probation fees to be waived. And upon the completion of classes, we would like to request for probation to be terminated.
All right. First of all, with regards to the one-time visit, Ms. Simpson, if you still have belongings at 480 Grant Street in Atlanta, you can return to that location one time only, but you need a police officer to escort you there. So you need to go to the local police precinct and say the judge requires me to have a police escort. You can go to that location to retrieve your belongings, but there cannot be any breach of peace or any arguments. If there's any argument about a particular item, like a chair, a sofa, or I don't know, any small item, you have to leave it there and leave. Do you understand? You just stuff where nobody argues with you. I will waive your probation fees for the months of February, March, and April. You need to start paying probation fees from May 1st, 2025 onwards. And I'm going to require you to report to probation every month. There's going to be no termination on non-reporting. You report every month. Thank you.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Can we go back to Mr. Hicks, position 27 and 28, Ms. McLeod's client?
Ms. McLeod, out of the breakout?
Yes, Your Honor, this is going to be a negotiated plea this morning.
All right, thank you. Did we just lose medical from, oh, we have two screens, that's what.
No, we're here.
Oh, I see you. Thank you so much. Okay. This is State versus Claude Atkins Hicks. Mr. Hicks is accused of battery from July 24th, 2023, case number 23CR4675Y. And he's got a bench warrant for failure to appear, 25 FTA 257. Mr. Hicks, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court about the facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, Ms. Maureen McLeod will be representing you. For purposes of this plea, may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons?
Yes, Your Honor. With respect to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
With respect to the single count of battery, the state's recommendation is 12 months served 30 days with credit for 10 days served, balance on probation, no further contact with Nathan Brown, and 12 hours of anger management.
Your Honor, I spoke with Miss Falk, and she had indicated that it would be essentially time served and for him to do 12 hours of anger management.
All right, so Ms. Simmons, would it be then 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days? If that's how many days he's been in jail?
I'm sorry, Judge, my notes from Ms. Falk indicates balance probated, so I can reach out to her and ask for confirmation, but those are my instructions.
Oh, no, no problem. I just was wondering.
Your Honor, I reached out to Ms. Falk this morning and I explained that on humanitarian grounds, because my client had been in a dreadful accident, that if we could have it so that he gets to come out today. And she sent me back an email on which she copied Ms. Simmons to say she was fine with that. She would like him to just do the 12 hours of anger management. As you can see, my client is in a wheelchair. He was in a horrific accident. He was in Grady for a couple of weeks. As you can see, his forehead is still injured. He's in a wheelchair and he needs to be out of jail so he can get the appropriate care. And I explained to her that this was on humanitarian grounds that I was requesting all of this, Your Honor.
If you could forward me the email, because I have not received that email.
Okay, I'm sorry because she said she had copied you on it. That's why I assumed that you had seen. I will forward it to you now.
All right. Ms. Lewis, could you confirm how many days Mr. Hicks has been in custody?
Judge, he's been in jail for a total on the FTA 8 days as of today. He was booked in on February the 6th of 2025. And he also served 2 days when he was originally arrested on this charge back on July the 28th of 2023 and was released on July the 29th of 2023. So if they give him credit for the previous time he was in there, it'd be 10 days.
Okay, thank you. So I just need confirmation that it would be to serve 20 days credit for time served 10 days.
I forwarded the email from Ms. Falk to Ms. Simmons just now, Your Honor, where she said she was fine with it being that way so he could get out today.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm waiting for the email.
All right, we'll just take a brief pause in this matter. ACDC, did you have another case?
Judge, no, I just have a quick announcement for positions number 29 through 31.
All right.
Ms. Holmes, it's going to be a reset. She refused.
Okay, so Jacqueline Holmes is going to be reset to February 27th at 9 a.m. That's 29, 30, and 31. If she is refusing to address, is she with you right now back there?
Good morning.
Oh, Mr. Bartel, yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Good. I was asked to talk with Ms. Holmes because I have represented her before on the SAP calendar, and she declined to come out to see me yesterday when I went to see her. And I understand from Ms. Francois, she's declining to come out too. So I would just say reset it to SAP. The state's offer does include additional time.
All right. We'll see her on February 27th. That's 2 weeks out, and that's going to be at 9 a.m.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Your Honor, if we can go back to Mr. Adkins.
Ready?
If we can put this on hold, because I've seen the email, but it still does say balance probated. 12 months served 20 days with credit for time served 10 days, balance probated.
Yeah, that was correct then.
Correct. That was our position as well. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
So Ms. Simmons, do you agree then? It's to serve 20 days credit for time served 10 days?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, then we are proceeding on the same page. All right. Anything else, Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client tells me that he will be able, with some help, to do the anger management, the online course. I would ask if his probation could end once he completes that, Your Honor, and also if the first 2 months could be waived to give him a chance to get out, recuperate properly, and take this course.
Will he be able to report in person on Tuesday?
No, Your Honor, he's in a wheelchair and it's very, very difficult for him to get around.
I'll allow for telephonic reporting.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And His probation fees are waived for the first 2 months, which is February and March. He needs to start paying from April 1st onwards. And I will non-reporting probation after he's completed the 12 hours of anger management classes, which is 12.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Mr. Hicks, have you, please, medical, please unmute.
Excuse me.
All right. Have you,
I can't hear you. What'd you say?
have you consumed any medicine or alcohol?
I've been just taking medicine.
Okay. Are you able to understand what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, I'm very satisfied with my attorney.
Okay. And she has discussed this plea offer with you. Are you accepting the plea recommendation freely, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you decide to accept it, you won't be able to get a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You won't go back to court. You won't be able to challenge the evidence brought against you, face your accusers, and present your arguments and defenses. And the prosecutor will not have to do its job to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am. I think my attorney doing good for me. I trust her judgment, so I'm willing to accept these terms.
How do you plead to 1 count of battery?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 20 days, credit for time served 10 days. The remainder of the time will be on probation. I will allow you to do telephonic probation. Ms. McLeod, you would need to make sure that probation, the whole process is facilitated. We have Ms. Thomas from JCS Probation. You might want to reach out to her to let her know that your client is allowed to do telephonic probation so they can get the appropriate paperwork filled out, and for him to have a scheduled time to call into probation to, report in and make sure that he's completing his requirements.
I will, Your Honor.
Thank you. He is required to, his first telephonic appointment will be on Tuesday, February 18th, before 3 p.m. While he's on probation, he will enroll and complete 12 anger management classes. His probation fees are waived for the months of February and March. He starts paying probation fees from April 1st, 2025 onwards. Once he has completed his anger management classes and he is up to date with his probation fees, then his probation will be non-reporting.
Did you have a question, Mr. Hicks?
Now,
I thought you had a question.
Oh, no. That's explained to me, but thank you.
You're welcome. And you can always contact me when you come out because all your relatives have my number.
Okay.
Sure. The bench warrant is dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. And I'll get in touch every time when I get out, we'll reach out to each other. And okay, that's 12 hours or that's 12 days.
12 hours. I will explain everything to you. It's 12 hours and I will.
Okay. Thank you. Still 24 hours, right? All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Courtroom 2, do we have a case?
We can go with our position 47 and 48, Mr. Spoon.
Uh, 47, 48, this is a waiver case. However, he would like to argue for the bond modification, Your Honor.
All right. This is State versus Andre Spoon, accused of battery, family violence from August 7th, 2023, case number 23 CR 4861E. He's got a bench warrant 25 FTA 244 from December 5th, 2024. Mr. Spoon, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. I understand this is going to be a waiver of arraignment. So both these cases are going to be further notice for trial. All right. So presently, Mr. Spoon's bond has been forfeited from December 5th, 2024 by Judge Jane Morrison. And yes, Ms. Kim?
Yes, he says that he has a minor son that he has to take care of. He has a full custody, and right now, he is staying with his teacher, and it is very inconvenient. He was wondering if we can modify the bond to $5,000 surety bond instead of $5,000 cash bond.
Any objection from the state?
Your Honor, we would object to the bond being modified and just ask that this be returned to Judge Morrison's courtroom.
I'm trying to see why it's a cash bond. Typically, there's sometimes aggravating circumstances. So he was given a $3,000 signature bond through pre-trial. Arraignment had already been waived back in October 30th.
He felt to appear judge for a trial counter. It was a jury trial counter call.
I see.
Your Honor, he missed his court date on December 5, 2024, because his mom was extremely sick, very, very ill, to the point of critical point, and actually she passed away on December 7, 2024. So there was a huge unfortunate circumstances at that time.
And I'm sorry to hear that, but where was the funeral held?
Where was the funeral held? It was 2500 St. Atlanta.
That's why I was staying. That's where all my mail was born.
Where was the funeral?
It was in the West End at right, y'all, I can't recall it. It was in the West End. I think Willie Watkins Forum. And my mom had a P.O. box, and all my mail was going to that box.
All right. Bond is held at $10,000. It's going to be a surety bond. And the original conditions all apply. And your next, and Mr. Spoon, as soon as you are released on bond, please make sure that you provide us with a good mailing address. It cannot be a P.O. box. It has to be a residential address, and it cannot be the address that's listed in the bond order from where you're supposed to stay away.
Yes.
Where is his current address, Ms. Kim?
Right now, 2500 Center Street, Atlanta, 30380.
30318.
Oh, I apologize.
Apart-
30318.
Apartment
Apartment D11.
111. 111.
It doesn't matter if the information's incorrect with your attorney, Mr. Spoon.
Ma'am.
Within 48 hours of being released on your bond, you're required to come down to the clerk's office. If it's a holiday, then you come back the next day. And you provide us with your new mailing address in writing, and I want it signed off by you when you come to the clerk's office. The clerk's office is at Suite J150 at 160 Prior Street. And do make that trip, because I want you to remember where the courthouse is so that you'll remember to show up for trial.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, we can go to position number 21, Mr. Dawson.
Okay. And that's Mr. White. How are we moving forward with Mr. Dawson?
It's still a negotiated plea, Judge.
All right. I'm sorry, but I've got so many pages, they're all sticking together. There we go. All right. Thomas Dawson, accused of criminal trespass from January 28th of this year, case 25 CR 479C. Mr. Dawson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. White. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, the state's recommendation is 12 months, serve 32 days with credit for 16 days served, balance suspended, stay away from Cloud9 Smoke and Vape at 710 Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell, and we would ask counsel to stipulate to a factual basis venue and ID for the purposes of this plea.
So stipulated, Your Honor, nothing further.
Mr. Dawson, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your attorney services?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to this charge, you would have to give up your right to a trial in front of a judge or a jury. There will be no opportunity to confront your accuser, challenge the evidence brought against you, and the state won't have to prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up your rights?
Yes, ma'am.
Repeat.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to one count of criminal trespass?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 32 days, credit for time served 16 days, balance suspended. You'll be released within 24 hours unless you have any other cases holding you at the jail. And once you're released, please do not return to the, Cloud9 Smoke and Vape Shop in Roswell. Otherwise, you'll be arrested again, and we get to do this fun stuff all over. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Courtroom 2, do you have another case?
Yes, position number 50 and 51, Mr. Steger. Yes, Your Honor, this is negotiated plea.
Thank you. Mr. Elijah Steger is accused of battery from July 20th, 2023, case number 23 CR 4522G. He's got a second case, 25465G, for theft by shoplifting and criminal trespass from December 26, 2024. Mr. Steger, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. And this is going to be a plea. May I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? Now, you had the right hand before. Do you so plead?
No.
Do you so, I'm sorry? Do you so swear?
I do.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Mulcahy?
Your Honor, I also see that Mr. Steger is position 49 for no license, no insurance, HOV violation, and suspended registration.
Oh, he's got a third case. Were you aware of that, Ms. Kim?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I missed it completely. I'm so sorry. 22 CR 3399G. Yes, this is a traffic incident, no license, suspended registration, no insurance, and HOV lane violation. All right, so that's a total of 3 cases. And Ms. Mulcahy, what are we doing today?
For position 49, the recommendation is count 1, 12 months to serve 2 days, credit for time served 1 day, balance probated, a $350 fine. Count 2 is to run with count 1 and a $500 fine. Count 3 is to also run concurrent with count 1 with a $350 fine. Count 4 is to run concurrent with count 1 with a $105 fine. For position 50, the battery, it is 12 months to serve 8 days, credit for time served 4 days, balance probated, no further contact with Joel Belk, 8 weeks of anger management, and that he have no firearms in his possession. Position 51, for count 1, the theft by shoplifting, that is 12 months to serve 34 days, credit for time served 17 days. The balance to be probated, that he stay away from 1105 Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell, that he pay $500 fine and take an anti-theft course. Count 2 is 12 months to run concurrent with count 1. And I would ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification for purposes of the plea.
Yes, we do.
And I'm sorry, Miss, oh, that was okay. So that's 500, 1200, 1305, $1,305 from position 49, 12 anger management classes for position 50, and a anti-theft class and $500 fine for position 51.
For position 50, it was 8 weeks of anger management.
Oh, 8 weeks. And a $500 fine. So that's, 8 weeks of anger management, sorry, okay. And this was an anti-theft class. Miss Kim, that's $1,805 in fines plus court costs and surcharges, plus the anti-theft class, plus the 8 anger management classes, during a period of 11 months. How is your client planning to complete these conditions?
He says he can pay, Your Honor.
Well,
how are you gonna do it? He has a job right now, I guess, lined up. Once he gets out.
Keystone Management. It's Keystone Management. I'm working a job cleaning the MARTA stations. And then outside that, I cut hair and do a lot of personal business. Like I try to do a lot of cutting hair, cleaning a lot of places. I work at Cam Cuts.
All right. And you understand that by pleading guilty to no insurance will result in a license suspension.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're not allowed to drive until your license is reinstated.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you have a grand plan to complete all these conditions, please understand that failure to comply can result in probation being revoked and you being back in jail to serve out the rest of the sentence. So if we are ready to, and so Ms. Kim, do you stipulate to the factual basis, venue, and ID?
Yes, we do.
Mr. Staker, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood what's going on in all 3 cases?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you satisfied with your legal services?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you prepared to plead guilty to these multiple charges freely, willingly, and knowingly?
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand that by pleading guilty, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial in front of a judge or a jury. You will not get the opportunity to go back to court to challenge the evidence brought against you, to be able to challenge, to be able to confront your accuser, have the assistance of counsel to present your defenses, arguments, and any mitigating factors. And this prosecution will not have to prove the charges against you beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand there's no right to an appeal after I accept your plea.
Yes, ma'am.
And your license will be suspended until you are eligible for reinstatement by the Department of Driver Services.
Would that be until I pay the probation and everything, or?
It can be anywhere from 6 months to 12 months.
Yes, ma'am.
It doesn't matter whether you've completed all this. Are you still willing to move forward with the plea?
Yes, ma'am.
On case 22 CR 3399G, how do you plead to no driver's license, driving on a suspended, canceled, or revoked registration, no valid insurance, and an HOV lane violation?
Guilty.
Your sentence for count 1 is 12 months to serve 2 days, credit for time served 1 day, balance probated, to pay a $350 fine. On the registration, it will be concurrent with count 1 with a $500 fine. On count 3, it will be concurrent with count 1 with a $350 fine. And on HOV lane violation, it'll be concurrent with count 1 with a $105 fine for a total of $1,305. And you will report to probation on Tuesday, February 18th before 3 p.m., where you will continue to report to probation and start paying your fine. For 23 CR 4522G, how do you plead to 1 count of battery?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 8 days, credit for time served 4 days, balance probated. You will have no further contact with Joe Belk, and you will enroll and complete 8 anger management classes. You will enroll in those classes within 60 days of being released. You're not allowed to own or possess any firearms. With regards to 25 CR 465G, how do you plead to theft by shoplifting and criminal trespass?
Guilty.
Your sentence for shoplifting is 12 months to serve 34 days, credit for time served 17 days, balance probated. Your probation will run concurrent. You are to stay away from 1105 Holcomb Bridge Road. You're required to pay a $500 fine and enroll and complete an anti-theft class. You're to enroll and complete that anti-theft class within 6 months of being released from jail. Your total fines will be $1,805 plus court costs and surcharges. You'll be required to make a $250 minimum payment per month until the entire fine and your court costs and surcharges are paid off. Please be sure to also keep up with your probation fees. Thank you.
Your Honor, can he get probation to be non-reporting after he completes all these conditions and classes?
No.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Next case, I have medical. Who do we have, please?
This is position number 55, Lawrence West, and he's this McLeod client.
All right. Could you give me his last name again?
West.
Okay. This is State versus Lawrence West, case 25 CR 394C. Mr. West is accused of 3 separate counts of battery, family violence, 1 count of simple battery, family violence, and 1 count of criminal trespass from October 20th of last year. Mr. West, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and presently representing you is Ms. Maureen McLeod. She's on the Zoom screen. Do you see her? I think that was a yes. So, Ms. McLeod, how would we like to proceed?
Your Honor, I haven't had a chance to speak with Mr. West today because he was not available. There is a plea offer on the table. However, it does not include time served, but I would still like the opportunity to discuss it with him.
Certainly. Ms. Grace, if you can place Ms. McLeod and medical into a breakout, please. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Courtroom 2, do we have a case?
No, Your Honor, the rest of the cases will be on medical.
Okay, all right, thank you. I have quite a few bench warrant matters to address, so maybe we can get to that. And I do know we had a amended calendar. So.
That's correct, Judge. Apparently, they added another charge from the previous revised calendar. It's a gentleman who needs a Spanish interpreter. I don't know if the interpreter is on yet, but when she does get on, can we address him first because she's on a time limit with us?
Definitely. Just, do we have a Spanish interpreter who's signed in on Zoom right now? No. Okay. So, and that Spanish interpreter is for which position? Is it position 2, Alvin Cruz? All right. Is the Spanish interpreter Mr. Michael Grubbs?
No, that's also a person on the DV counter.
Okay, got
Just
it.
got back on.
Okay, let's start with folks, if you are here for the 11 a.m. domestic violence bench warrant calendar, I need your video on. So, Marquez Clemens, Michael Grubbs, Tariq Racine, and Shamike Stevenson. Shamike Stevenson, can you hear me? Unmute.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You need to stop walking and be seated and have that phone in front of your face and not from, I don't want to see your chin. I want to see your face. So
Yes,
it
ma'am.
needs to be all the way up facing you. Marquez Clemens, you're going to be considered as failure to appear because you are driving. Remove Marquez Clemens from the Zoom until he parks his vehicle.
I'm parking, Your Honor.
Parking is not good enough. Remove
I'm
him from
parked.
the Zoom.
Look, I'm parked. It's in park.
All right, thank you. Mute your screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's start with Mr. Clemens so that he can carry on his way.
Your Honor, I'm going to need a breakout with him. I did text or chat him to call, but I.
No problem. Mr. For the folks who have come in for the domestic violence bench warrant calendar, you're all here because there's an outstanding warrant for your arrest for failure to appear or for some violation. So please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, we have public defense counsel who are willing to speak with you. So, Mr. Clemens, you're going to see on your screen that you are going to join a breakout room with public defense counsel Tom White.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Michael Grubbs, do you have an attorney?
I spoke with someone from the public defender's office yesterday.
All right. I don't know where you are, but all I can see is your beard. Perfect. Thank you. All right. And with whom did you speak?
I can tell you the name if you give me just 1 second because he sent me an email to confirm everything we talked about.
That would be Mr.
Mr. Chate? Okay, Mr. Chate.
Yep, Chate, correct.
Are we ready to address Mr. Grubbs?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So Mr. Grubbs' case is 24 CR 6189C. Is accused of battery, family violence from August 31st, 2024. Looks like his failed to appear in court on December 12th, 2024. Oh, excuse me, December 5th, 2024. And yes, Mr. Chate, your client's been advised of his rights. How would you like to proceed?
Your Honor, are we talking about the same missed court date? Because I see here on Odyssey that on December 12th, the bond forfeiture was set aside for that missed court date back in December.
Let me see.
And I'm also showing that he missed another court date on January 24th.
That's correct, Judge. His at first FTA was set aside by you on December the 24th of 24, and then he missed court on January the 24th of 25. And Judge Dixon issued out, the warrant was signed and issued on January the 31st of 25. So this is his second FTA.
There we go.
There we go.
So the first one was set aside, right?
Correct. So he didn't appear before Judge Dixon in January of 2025.
All right, so concerning that, Your Honor, my client was in between housing. He recently updated the court's his address with the court. His new address is 3001 Clifton Road. However, this update came after the missed court date. However, until then, he has regularly been working with his pretrial services officer, and it was through that officer that he learned about the missed court date. Until then, he was regularly checking his address, the mail at his old address, which was 1878 Oakmont Drive, Northwest in Atlanta. And he informed me that he did not receive any notification through the mail, even though he was checking his mail regularly there. So that would be the reason for not having notice.
I'm sorry, what was the address prior to the Clifton Street?
So around the time that the FTA was issued, it was 1878 Oakmont Drive.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
Ms. Mulcahy?
Your Honor, given that this is his second time missing court, we would object to the bench warrant being set aside.
All right. Ms. Washington, this is Michael Grubbs.
There are 4 arrest cycles. There was a 2020 FTA out of Cobb County. No prior batteries or violence listed.
Mr. Grubbs,
Yes, ma'am.
do you understand that this is your second failure to appear in this case in less than 30 days?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not happy about the situation. I like I told my attorney,
Your attorney has already explained the situation. Did he not
Yeah.
explain it adequately?
I wanted to give further clarification.
Did you need to speak with him?
No, ma'am. I do understand.
And you also understand that you've had a prior failure to appear in a Cobb County case,
Yes, ma'am.
and that doesn't speak well for your track record.
I understand.
And the prosecution is asking me to forfeit your bond and have you back in jail so that the next time we address you, you'll be sitting in courtroom 2 in an orange suit with handcuffs.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that.
That's how serious it gets, sir. I mean, unless, of course, you're just comfortable sitting in jail, then that's entirely up to you.
Of course not. No, ma'am.
I'm going to amend your bond. It's going to remain at a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services. You're required to report to pretrial twice a month. So that's on a level 2. If you're
Yes.
reporting once a month, now it's going to be twice a month. Because I think you need to keep up with your court dates, and anytime you don't know it, you might want to ask your pretrial officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Keep in mind that the pretrial officer is not your calendar manager, that you are responsible for your own calendar, and most importantly, you are responsible for making sure that we have the correct mailing address for you. No one else is responsible for that but you.
Yes, ma'am.
The minute you change your address, you need to let the clerk's office know. Within 30 days from today, you are to enroll and complete a domestic violence intervention program. You will start those classes as soon as you enroll. These are 26 classes. They are weekly, and you will pay for those classes out of your own pocket. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And so by your 3rd visit to pretrial, you must show proof that you are enrolled in a domestic violence program and that you've started attending classes.
Yes, ma'am.
No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons and firearms. Mr. Chatay, would you be able to give me that amended order?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So the bench warrant is set aside from January of 2025, and he needs to start reporting to pretrial twice a month and show proof of enrollment within 30 days from today with a domestic violence program. Always maintain a current mailing address with the clerk's office in writing. All other conditions remain the same.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Grubbs, if you have no further questions, you're free to go.
Thank you.
And I don't think Judge Dixon will tolerate a third failure to appear.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
All right, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chate, would you be available to speak with Tariq Racine unless he's addressed somebody else?
I can, unless he has another attorney.
Your Honor, we're going to be sending a null process in for this case.
All right, Mr. Tariq Racine, the case is dismissed. You're free to go. All right, and then that gets us to Mr. White, I think, is still in conference. Okay.
Can we go to Ms. McLeod, client position number 55 West?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to be sure that Shamika Stevenson has an attorney with whom he's speaking. Shamika Stevenson, are you speaking? Do you have an attorney?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All right, courtroom, Ms. Grace, can you put Stevenson and courtroom 2 in a breakout? Thank you.
Okay, Judge.
All right. Sorry, Miss McLeod, this was Lawrence West, would that be correct?
Yes, Your Honor, it is correct.
All right, and what are we doing for case 25 CR?
Your Honor, this morning I would be asking the court to consider modifying my client's bond to a signature bond. The situation is that Mr. West has a hold for Clayton County. My client is a homeless veteran. He's been in a program with the VA, which has been providing him with housing. But he's required to report every month, Your Honor, and if he doesn't get the opportunity to report, then he loses this housing. And he has been in jail now for several weeks, and then he has his hold out of Clayton County. So he wants to get out so he can address the hold in Clayton County and get the opportunity to report to the VA concerning his housing. He's not in a position to pay for bond, and that is why he's still in jail, Your Honor.
All right. Didn't know this was happening. Looks like he's already filed a waiver of arraignment on February 1st, 2025.
Yes, Your Honor, I filed that.
All right. February 1st. Was I on SAP at that time?
Your Honor, I just filed it in the course of my representation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
It wasn't as a result of his appearance on
Okay.
SAP.
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand his bond order. Miss Washington or Miss Mokeke, do you have his GCIC? This is for Lawrence West.
Yes, there are 5 arrests out of Georgia. The last arrest was in January of this year for knowingly driving a motor vehicle suspended. No disposition is listed on that. There appeared to be a probation violation in 2019 regarding a misdemeanor. In 2018, there was a misdemeanor conviction out of Cobb County for criminal trespass. And there was an assault conviction out of Texas from 2005, misdemeanor. And as mentioned, there is a hold out of Clayton County.
Do we know what's that for?
It's, what'd you say?
What are the charges in Clayton County?
It says that it's a property damage case. The warrant date is from December 11th of 2024.
Okay. Ms. Mokeke, anything to add?
Yes, Your Honor. I also see that he has a 2011 CWAC arrest, but I'm not sure what the disposition for that was. Would you like to hear the facts of the case, Your Honor?
Please, just the alleged facts. Thank you.
This incident is from October 20th, 2024. The victim in this case is Tayani Kearse, who I believe is 26 years old. The defendant was upset with her during an argument and told her that she shouldn't overtalk him. She told officers that the defendant often tells her that he hits her because she's always trying to run away and doesn't listen. In this case, the defendant allegedly pushed her and she fell backwards and hit her head on the pavement. He then walked over to her and spit on her. The assault continued as the victim tried to leave. The defendant followed her, pushed her down again, stomped on her, hit her with open hand strikes, used his knee to knee her in the head. At one point, she attempted to get onto a nearby bus. The defendant grabbed her, preventing her from getting on. All of this was happening on the street. She eventually ran into 1801 Delow Drive and asked the clerk to call the police. The defendant followed her inside the location. He is seen in the location on that location's cameras. The defendant was gone by the time officers arrived. The victim had swelling to her brow, cuts and swellings to her eye, and her nose was bleeding.
All right. And Ms. McLeod, anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor. I think the facts of that case as alleged by the state is not exactly what happened according to my client. My client is also in medical for a reason, Your Honor. He injured his arm as a result of some kind of interaction where he was trying to get the alleged victim out of danger. His hand is currently in a splint. I believe they have known each other from the days of the military, and there is some interesting history which we probably shouldn't go into concerning the alleged victim. As you can see, I'm a conflict attorney, so she has her own issues. But based on what my client tells me, it's all the facts as represented are not true. He certainly didn't spit on her or any of that.
Okay. On count one, that's going to be a $2,000 surety as indicated. Count two, that's going to be 500. Count three is going to be 500. Count four is going to be 500. And count five is going to be 500. That's going to be 2, 3, and 4. Bond is set at $4,000 surety bond. Mr. West, you do not qualify for a signature bond, even though you may be in indigent status or residentially challenged. Unfortunately, you do have significant criminal history record. And if you do make bond, you'll be released to the Clayton County hold. And if you are released from Clayton County, you'll be required to comply with the original conditions of the bond, which includes staying away from Ms. Pierce and having no illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons and firearms. Thank you. Ms. McLeod, would you be able to submit the amended bond order?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And this case is going to be further notice for trial.
Your Honor, could you please tell me the changes? Let me make sure I have them.
I'm sorry, the what?
The changes to his bond, Your Honor.
Well, count one remains at 2,000. 2, 3, 4, and 5 are reduced to 500 each.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. With the same conditions applying, but this is a release to Clayton County hold.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Judge.
Yes.
You wanted Mr. Stevens to go in the breakout room with whom? Because courtroom 2 never entered.
Mr. Chate, you would have to manage the Zoom in courtroom 2. So if you get a message to join the breakout, you would need to enter that.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and place Mr. Stevenson. Okay, going back to the DB calendar. Mr. Marquez Clements. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. No, hang on, Mr. White. I'm so sorry. I have another case at medical. Medical, who do we have?
Number 20, Mr. James Cross. We have someone else behind Mr. Cross as well.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Cross is my case, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Chate. Mr. Stevenson will have to wait. Maybe you want to send him a message and break out that he needs to wait. What was that position again? I'm so sorry. I'm trying to.
Position 20, Judge.
20. Okay, thank you. James Cross is accused of criminal trespass and possession and use of a drug-related object. from January 29th of this year, case 25 CR 501F. Mr. Cross, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you presently is Mr. Chate, who is in courtroom 2. Can you see him on the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And Mr. Chate, how are we proceeding?
With the negotiated plea?
Mr. Cross, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. Recommendation with respect to count 1 criminal trespass, 12 months, serve 30 days with credit for time served, 15 days, balance on probation, stay away from Marta pursuant to a permanent ban. Count 2, 12 months probation concurrent with count 1, alcohol and drug evaluation, and follow any recommended treatment.
And Mr. Cross, Mr. Chate, do you so stipulate, and does your client accept the terms?
I stipulate and my client accepts the terms.
Okay. Mr. Cross, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
And have you understood the terms of the offer from the prosecution?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand that you'll be on probation and that you'll need to stay away from all Marta property forever.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Do you hear about the forever part?
What she said?
She said, even.
You need to stay away from all Marta property forever.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. Forever. Okay.
Ever. Can't take Martin? Jeez.
Can you take a train or what?
He's got a permanent ban from Marta property.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am, I understand.
All right. And Mr. Cross, are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to plead guilty to these charges, you'll be on probation. You'll need to figure out a way to get to the probation office at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta without using Marta.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you able to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
How?
I can catch a bus down there.
What bus?
Or walk, street bus.
A Marta bus?
Yes, ma'am.
You can't not use Marta.
Oh. So I can walk down there then, ma'am. They're that far from where I'll be at.
It's up to you, sir. If you decide to plead guilty, you would have to give up your constitutional right to a trial. You will not be able to come back to court, to be able to confront your accuser, not be able to dispute with the evidence brought against you, and the prosecutor will not have to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up these rights?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead to 1 count of criminal trespass at Marta and 1 count of possession of a drug-related object?
Guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. If you have no other holds, you'll be released within 24 hours. But next Tuesday, on February 18th, before 3 p.m., you have to walk to your probation office at 132 Mitchell Street in downtown Atlanta. Make sure you have an early start so you get there by 3 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
And while you're on probation, you are to enroll in an alcohol drug evaluation and submit yourself to any treatment that's required.
Yes, ma'am.
And for count 2, that will be concurrent with count 1. Best of luck in your case, Mr. Cross.
No, thank you.
Position number 54, Mr. Waldrop.
Go ahead and sit down.
Jonathan Andrew Waldrop is accused of battery from November 22nd, 2024. Mr. Waldrop, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Mr. Waldrop, who's your counsel?
My counsel is, okay, there she is.
Yes.
Miss Kim.
Ms. Kim? Okay. Ms. Kim, how are you proceeding?
This is negotiated plea, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Waldrop, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. McCarthy?
Your Honor, the recommendation for Mr. Waldrop is 12 months to serve 144 days, credit for time served 72 days, the balance to be probated, that he have no further contact with Kyle Simmons, that he stay away from 7810 Sonoya Road, that he undergo 12 weeks of anger management, undergo a mental health evaluation, 40 hours of community service, and no firearms. Our office has spoken with the victim in this case, Mr. Simmons, who agrees with the plea. I would ask the defense to stipulate to venue, factual basis, and identification.
Yes, we do.
Mr. Waldrop, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
No, ma'am.
Have you understood what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am. I've read over the plea arraignment, the plea bargain.
And are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you entering this guilty plea freely, willingly, and knowingly?
Yes, ma'am.
If you decide to enter such a plea, you would have to give up your right to a trial. You will not be able to go back to court to have a trial in front of a judge or a jury, challenge the evidence brought against you, confront your accuser, present any defenses and arguments, and have the state prove the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Are you prepared to give up those rights?
Yes, ma'am. That's okay, Your Honor.
How do you plead to one count of battery?
I plead guilty, ma'am.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 144 days, credit for time served 72 days. The remainder of the time will be served on probation. So you have just under, I think, 9 more months of probation to complete.
Yes, ma'am.
You will report to probation on Tuesday, February 18th before 3 p.m. And while you're on probation, you have to have no contact with Carl Simmons. Be 200 yards away from him and do not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. You're also to stay 200 yards away from 7810 Sonoya Road. You cannot be seen within 200 yards of that location.
Yes, Your Honor.
While on probation, you will also enroll and complete 12 anger management classes, and you must enroll within 60 days of being released. Within 15 days of being released, you will undergo a mental health evaluation and submit yourself to any treatment, counseling, or medication as required. You're also to complete 40 hours of voluntary community service with any nonprofit agency that's not a church and a school, and you're to complete those community service at a minimum rate of 5 hours per month. At all times, you're not allowed to own or possess any firearms. Thank you.
Questions?
You can ask the question later.
Will I get papers on my release? When I get released, will I get papers with like phone numbers and stuff for the mental health evaluation?
Provide if there's none.
Okay, so I'll be credit for time served released. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, cool.
No, because they said.
Okay. Mr. White, have you conferred with Mr. Clemens? I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Won't come off mute for some reason. I have, Your Honor.
All right. So Mr. Clemens is case 24 CR 914C. Looks like he was charged with simple battery family violence from February 26, 2024. And he received a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. On September 9th, his bond was forfeited by Judge Dixon for failure to appear. Yes, Mr. White?
Your Honor, he never received any notice at all. He has been in constant contact with pretrial. The only, and that's the only way he knew of a missed court date. He is currently employed, works for the city of Atlanta, has been there over 2 years now. He's on a signature bond, has been reporting to pretrial. Tristan Brown is his officer that he reports to weekly. And we just asked that this bench warrant be set aside. He says he hasn't changed addresses. We have an address for him if that's not the one on file.
What's the new address?
He doesn't, it's not a new address, Your Honor. He says he has not changed addresses. So the address, just make sure that we have the same one. It's 585 McWilliams Road, apartment 501. And that's 30315 here in Atlanta.
That's the address, and we've never had any return mail.
Okay, that still doesn't mean that he got it. I completely understand that just because it wasn't returned doesn't mean it didn't get to him. Doesn't mean it got to him.
Oh, he got it and ignored it.
Sorry.
No, ma'am.
I'm just shooting possibilities.
Right, there's a ton of possibilities.
There's a ton of possibilities, but I don't have return mail.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Mulcahy, any response?
Your Honor, this appears to be his first failure to appear in this case, so we would not object to the bond being set aside, but I would implore the defendant to figure out what's going on with his mail so that he doesn't miss any future court dates, because at that point we will be objecting.
Okay. Based on the solicitor's response, I'm going to set aside the bench warrant, reinstate the $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. And I concur with Ms. Mulcahy's statements, Mr. Clements. It's your responsibility to make sure that the mail to your location works correctly. If there's a problem with it, that's your responsibility. All we do is send it out to the address that's on file. And your pretrial officer is not your calendar manager. You are responsible for making sure you have the correct dates and you show up in court. The next time you fail to appear, it'll be unlikely they'll be set aside. Thank you.
So fix the postal service. All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
The Spanish interpreter is online right now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Who is our Spanish interpreter? Ms. Lucia?
Yep.
All right, good morning. Ms. Lucia, we have Mr. Alvin Cruz, who is present on a request to set aside an outstanding arrest warrant.
Yes, Your Honor, I see him.
All right, if you could please tell him.
Señor Cruz, usted está aquí en esta audiencia para ver si se le quita un cargo porque usted no apareció a una corte y entonces se emitió, al no aparecer a la corte, se emitió una orden de captura. Entonces estamos aquí para ver si le quitamos esa orden.
The bench warrant is issued because he apparently failed to appear in court.
Como le digo, la orden de captura fue emitida porque no se presentó a la corte cuando tenía que presentarse.
Ok, a mí no me llegó.
Espérame.
He
Hablando la juez.
He has a right to remain silent. Anything he says about the case, his statements can be used against him.
Usted tiene el derecho de permanecer en silencio. Cualquier cosa que usted diga puede ser usada en contra suya.
He has a right to an attorney. If he cannot afford one, he can speak to an attorney today.
Usted tiene el derecho de un abogado. Si usted no puede costear su propio abogado, un abogado se le puede asignar para el día de hoy, para este trámite.
Does he have an attorney, and would he like to speak to one of the public defense counsel?
¿Tiene usted un abogado o quiere hablar con uno de los defensores públicos?
No, no tengo abogado.
I do not have an attorney.
All right. Would he like to speak to one of our public defense counsel?
¿Quiere hablar entonces con uno de los abogados de la defensa pública?
Sí,
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that was pretty fast. All right, Miss Kim, would you be available?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Miss Grace, if you can place Miss Lucia, Mr. Cruz, and Miss Kim in a breakout, please.
Nos vamos a una sala, usted, yo y la abogada defensora. Necesita estar quieto en algún lugar, por favor.
Okay.
Mr. Cruz, you will get a message on your screen, most likely in English, to join a breakout room.
Señor Cruz, en la pantalla de su teléfono va a recibir un mensaje que va a estar en inglés que dice join para que se junte a una sala separada. El momento que lo vea el mensaje, nada más lo apachurra, le toca.
Ms. Grace? Is he not responding?
Yes, Judge, I hear, what was that?
Is he not responding to the message to join a breakout?
Mr. Chate,
Mr. Cruz and Ms. Kim.
Miss Crew, okay.
Is Mr. Cruz, who's on the DV bench warrant, Ms. Kim, she's got her own device, PD
Yes.
Kim, and then Ms. Lucia is
Spanish interpreter. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
3 of them in a breakout, please. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. But also, Judge, Mr. Stevens done been in twice and no one has gone in with him. So you just let me know what to do when the time comes.
All right, we'll do.
Busque el mensaje, señor Cruz, en la pantalla a lo mejor, o sea, nada más donde estamos, no tiene que moverle nada, donde estamos le va a llegar un mensaje. Just letting him know, Your Honor, that the message will be coming up. Hopefully. And I'm here also.
Okay. Mr. Chate, is there a problem with putting you in a breakout with Mr. Stevenson? Otherwise, I'll ask Mr. White.
I can enter a breakout with him.
All right. Was there a problem trying to put you? Let's start with you first. Let's put you in a breakout first. And Miss Grace, let's go ahead and place Mr. Chate in a completely different breakout room if you have one available.
I do, Judge. I put Mr. Stevens and him both in
All
one.
right.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chate, we're going to beam you up. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay. Good. I think everyone went in there. All right. Mr. White, would you like to go over the calendar while we're waiting for the breakout sessions? Mr. Tom White?
Your Honor, I also have a client on the competency calendar.
I know. Let's see. Is Miss Falk here to do the competency calendar? Or would that
No, Your Honor, but my client is going to be taking a plea. His evaluation came in and he is competent.
Okay. So we'll need for him to appear. What's his name?
Gary Smiggy, Your Honor.
Okay, Gary Smith.
And Your Honor, I will be handling the competency calendar.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Simmons. So that is not a competency matter then. I'll have to wait for Mr. Bartel, who's going to be in courtroom 2, which is currently in a breakout. So
Yes, I'm fine. I'm available. I just didn't want him to get forgotten.
I hope not. Just remind us as we move along.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. White, hello? Tom White? Maybe he stepped away. All right, folks, we'll just be in a brief recess until one of the cases pops up again for SAP or one of the breakout sessions is ready to address. Thank you. Okay. Medical, who do you have?
We have, position number 10 on the competency calendar, Mr. Pinkney. Hello, Judge.
Hello. Miss McLeod, was that your case? I thought it was Mr. McGee.
That's my case, Your Honor.
All right, is this,
No, Your Honor, that's not my client.
all right, Mr. Bartel, is this a competency matter or is this a,
This is,
no, Mr. McPinkney, please be quiet.
Yes, Your Honor. I've spoken with Mr. Pinkney, and I believe that he understands what's going on and is able to proceed. We have an offer from the state, so it'll be a negotiated plea. It's basically time served and suspended sentence.
Is the state made the offer with the understanding that Mr. Jader Pinkney is competent to stand trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Then this is 25 CR 490F, State versus Jader Pinkney, accused of criminal trespass from January 29th, 2025. Mr. Pinkney, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court about the facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, Mr. Paul Bartel will be representing you. May I place you under oath? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge? You need to say yes or no.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. The recommendation is 12 months, serve 30 days with credit for time served, 15 days, balance suspended, and a stay away from the Greyhound station at 232 Forsyth Street, SW, here in Atlanta. And I would ask counsel to stipulate a venue ID and a factual basis for the purposes of this plea.
We would so stipulate for that purpose. And Mr. Pinkney, just to let you know, you'll get credit for 15 days. The jail also gives 2-for-1 credit for misdemeanors. So you should be released today or tomorrow if the judge accepts the plea.
Mr. Pinkney, have you consumed any medicine or alcohol recently?
The medicine that I have and that they've been giving me here.
And are you still able to understand what's going on in your case?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And has your attorney explained to you that if you plead guilty, you will not be able to go back to court for a trial? There will be no trial. You will not be able to face your accuser, challenge evidence that'll be brought against you, and the prosecutor will not have to prove the charge.
I don't want to countersue anyway.
Okay. How do you plead to one count of criminal
I
trespass?
plead guilty.
Your sentence is 12 months to serve 30 days, credit for time served 15 days. You'll be released within 24 hours, but you cannot return to the Greyhound bus station at 232 Forsyth Street. Otherwise, you will be back in jail. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Good luck, sir.
All right. Ms. Lucia? This is State versus Omanzor Olvin Cruz, accused under 24 CR 8164C.
Este es el caso del señor Olvin Cruz Umansor. Es del estado en contra de él en el caso 24 CR 008164C.
He's got a bench warrant for failure to appear in court. He's represented by Ms. Kim.
Él tiene una orden de captura por el hecho de no haberse presentado al tribunal cuando tenía citatorio y su representante, su abogada es la señora Kim.
Ms. Kim, is there any particular reason I should consider this set aside?
This is first failure to appear ever. Your Honor, he did not receive any notice through the mail, and I don't see the returned notice at the Odyssey system. However, since this is his first one, we would like to request for bench warrant to be set aside.
Well, he was required to stay away from, sorry, I'm so sorry, Ms. Lucia, please translate.
La abogada indica que está pidiendo que por favor le quiten esta orden de captura, que no recibió el citatorio y que es la primera vez que usted no se presenta a un tribunal cuando tiene un citatorio. Go ahead.
He was required to stay away from the victim's residence, which is the address we have on file. So where has he been living?
He says that victim is no longer there, Your Honor.
La juez le preguntó a la abogada que en el caso usted debía haber permanecido lejos de la dirección que tenemos nosotros en nuestro sistema porque ahí vivía la víctima, pero su abogada indica que la víctima ya no vive ahí, ya no ha vivido ahí.
Right. Ms. Mokeke?
Yes, Your Honor. And looking at the original bond order, it did say that he would get a one-time law enforcement escort to ensure that the victim was no longer living there. Since this is his first FTA, we will not object to it being set aside. I'm not sure why he's not getting the mail, if that's his correct address. So I would just ask that he maybe go to his leasing office or whoever is in charge of the mail and ensure that everything is okay.
Y la fiscalía indica que como es la primera vez que usted no se aparece a la corte, ellos están de acuerdo, no se oponen a que le quiten esta única vez, la orden de captura, pero que necesita hablar con la administración en su edificio donde usted vive para asegurarse que usted reciba el correo y necesita chequear el correo siempre.
The bench warrant is set aside. Mr. Olvin is responsible to make sure we have his correct mailing address.
El dictamen de la juez, el fallo de la juez es que le va a quitar la orden de captura, pero que usted es la persona responsable por asegurarse que el tribunal y todas las oficinas de la corte tengan su dirección actual.
If he misses another court date, his bond will be revoked and he'll need to surrender himself to the Fulton County Jail.
Si es que usted pierde otra cita en una corte, entonces esta fianza, como quien dice, que le están dando en este momento, se le va a ser quitada y usted tiene que ir a una cárcel a rendirse ahí para ingresar a la cárcel.
Make sure he has no contact with Oscar Lopez and he's free to go.
No puede tener ningún contacto con el señor Oscar López y eso es todo y puede retirarse. Okay, Your Honor. He was muted, but it seemed like he said, okay, thank you.
If you're sure.
I'm not. Let me ask him. Señor Cruz, ¿puede prender su micrófono, por favor? Estaba enmudecido. Tiene que prenderle el micrófono para poder escucharlo.
Well, let him know he's free to go, or we can remove him from Zoom.
Puede retirarse, puede salir y abandonar la llamada.
All right. I won't keep you much longer, Ms. Lucia. You're free to go as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. You have a good afternoon.
You too. Thank you. There's a gentleman in a green t-shirt who's appeared on iPhone. What's your name, sir? And which case are you interested in addressing? Maybe he can't hear me. All right. Mr. Shatay, have you spoken to Mr. Stevenson?
I have, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Shameka Stevenson is present on a failure to appear in court. He's got 4 outstanding cases, 24 CR, 7238C, 24 CR, 7239C, 24 CR, 7240C, and 24 CR 7241C. These cases are assigned to Judge Dixon. He failed to appear in court on January 24th, 2025, after obtaining a signature bond. And Mr. Stevenson, you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and Mr. Chate is representing you presently. Yes, Mr. Chate?
Yes, Your Honor. So the notice to appear in court was sent to his address on 1093 West Avenue. However, from SCA, he was told to stay away from that address, so he couldn't check the mail there. So that was his reason for not making it to his court date on January 24th. Since then, he is now at a new address, 595 Mayland Avenue. And it's my understanding that he gave that address to the jail upon leaving, getting out on bond.
The West Avenue?
Right, 1093 West Avenue Southwest. He was told to stay away from that address.
When did he move into West Avenue? Mr. Stevenson, if you didn't give that information, this is the time to, when did you move into 1093 West Avenue?
I moved in 3 years ago.
That is not the address he gave to the court jail.
Yes, I gave them the 595 mailing app before I left to before I left jail. That's the address I gave to them because they said I couldn't be at 1093 and that they needed to send my mail somewhere else. And
You
that's the
were
address.
released from jail on October 25th, 2024.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Unless there's another case that we don't know about.
No, ma'am, there's not another case.
And
It's
the
the only.
address we have is Leisure Court.
Oh, that's before I went to that's before I went to prison. That's like 2019. That's the address I gave them in like 2019. That was supposed to be my address to parole out to, but I couldn't use that address, so I had to find another address to parole out to.
Ms. Mokeke?
So the current
talking about-
address, 595 Bayland Avenue.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct, okay. And Mr. Shatai, has he given that to the clerk's office?
No, he just got it today.
I'm sorry, this is Ms. Lewis. Apparently, Mr. Stevens, when the counter went out the first go round, only one case was placed on the counter at that time. And due to research, I found out that he had these other outstanding cases. So those cases were added on. That's why we had a revised counter. And the notice was only addressed to the, correct. Oh, I got it right.
241C?
Yeah, that notice was the only notice that he came in, they put it on the counter to reset, and that one has the address of the one I can't really read it, but 1093.
West Avenue.
And that was associated with the case number 24 CR 0072339C. But when I found out he had these open other 3 cases, apparently the clerk who reset the case did not inform him he had 3 other open warrants, and that's why these other cases were added to the calendar.
I just need to know which case has his correct address. According to him, he informed the jail when he was released in October of 2024. And I don't see, what was that address again, Mr. Chate?
The most recent address?
Yeah.
All right, he currently resides at 595 Bayland Avenue.
That's not what we have. We just have the 1093 West Avenue, and I think that trigger over to all the cases.
So he never updated his address appropriately, and he has 4 open cases, all with the same victim, which is concerning for the state.
All right. Anything else? Yes, no? Okay. Anything from the defense?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Stevenson, there is not enough information to verify that you had updated your address with the jail when
Yes,
you
ma'am.
were released from Fulton County on October 25th, 2024 on a signature bond. Your signature bond is revoked. You are to surrender to the Fulton County Jail tomorrow, which will be Friday, February 14th.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to intervene into what you were saying, Your Honor, but I'm going through a lot. I didn't know. Like I really didn't know. So I gave them that address before I left. That's the address I gave them. Like I would have went to court if I would. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you can talk here.
It doesn't show that. There is absolutely nothing to verify that statement.
Yes, but I'm telling you, like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Why wouldn't I not go to court for 4 open cases? I didn't know I had a court date.
So if you let me finish my ruling,
Yes, ma'am.
as I said, I'm not going to set aside the bench warrants. There is just not enough information that you had updated your mailing address. You are to surrender to the Fulton County Jail by 5 p.m. tomorrow, February 14th, 2025. Upon being booked at the Fulton County Jail, your bond shall be amended to as follows. On each case, for each charge, is going to be amended to a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3. You'll be required to report to pretrial services once a week. You are to stay away from all Sephora stores as required in the original bond. And once you are at the jail, you will provide your valid government issue ID, whether it's an identification card or a driver's license or a passport, but it must reflect your current mailing address, which is this bail-in. If your ID does not have your current address, you must bring your lease or your utility bill that shows your current mailing address. Do you understand?
Can I say? Yes, ma'am. That's what I was going to say, though, Your Honor. See, I'm going through a lot right now. You feel me? Like I'm trying to get my little girl and there's some more stuff right now. So
well,
I understand exactly what you're saying, though. I understand exactly what you're saying. So
good. Anything else?
no, ma'am.
When you come to jail tomorrow, make sure you bring a government issue ID with your current address or a utility bill or a current lease reflecting that the bail-in street or whatever is your correct mailing address, and make sure you provide that to the jail so that we can update your address once you are released on this new bond.
Yes, ma'am. So can I ask you something? The 2,000 signature bond. So it's like that's a S, ma'am.
Yeah. It's going to be $2,000 on each count. So your total will be $8,000 signature bond to pretrial. If you miss another court date, if you get arrested, or if you violate any other condition, like not providing us with a new address, your bond will be amended to a $8,000 surety bond.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I think it'd be more than that. He got 4 cases.
Isn't it 1 count on each case?
No, ma'am.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, so I have to go through it case by case then. In case 7240C, that will be $2,000 on count 1 and $1,000 on count 1 and $1,000 on count 2.
Yes, ma'am.
On case from ending in 7238C, is 2 counts, so it's $1,000 on each count. 7239C, that's going to be $1,000 in each count, so that's going to be $3,000 signature bond. Through pretrial, level 3, all these are level 3. 7240, that's.
Your Honor, we only have this one case, the 7239C case for today's calendar. We don't have any of the other cases.
There was a amended count sent out, sir. 2 of them. One was revised on Wednesday, and then another one came out on yesterday.
He's got bench warrants in all cases. You don't want me to amend it for all cases?
You definitely want to, I just want to double check and make sure we have the copy.
If not, I could send y'all a copy of the calendar if you need it.
Please, would you please send it to us?
Please send it.
Thank you.
All right, and case ending in 7240C is $1,000 on each count. And case ending in 7241C, it is $1,000 on count 1 and $1,000 on count 2. So his total signature bond through pretrial level 3 is $9,000. Don't forget to report to the jail before 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am. Can I extra, so the 9,000 signature bond, that's a SOB, like, do I got to pay the 9,000 or is it gonna be the 13% off work? I don't know I forgot how the surety and the good bonds and signature bonds go.
You don't have to pay for the bond, but you will have to report to pretrial services once a week.
Yes, ma'am. So I go to jail tomorrow.
Yes?
They gonna keep me, right?
They're only going to rebook you in and
Oh,
released on the new signature bond. It takes up to 12 to 24 hours for the booking process.
yes, ma'am. All right.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
And did you hear the part about maintaining a current mailing address?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are you required to bring with you?
Bring my ID. Bring my ID to the jail with my current address or a utility bill or anything like that, or a piece of mail. And that's all.
Or your lease with your current?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you got it. You're free to go.
All right.
Did y'all receive the update calendar?
Yes, Your Honor, or not, Your Honor, sorry, Ms. Lewis, I did.
It's okay.
No, no, no.
I don't want that title.
All right, Mr. Chate, can I impose on you to send the amended bond order? The sooner I get it, the sooner the jail will get it and they can process him out tomorrow or today, whenever he surrenders.
Yes, Your Honor.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. I think Miss McLeod still has one more case on the SFP calendar. I don't know if there are any other cases. So I'm going to do my competency calendar and then come back and address whatever is left on the SAP calendar. So Mr. Bartel, would you be available?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm right over here.
All right. And Ms. McLeod, do you have any other cases on the competency matter?
Yes, Your Honor, just Mr. McKay. And he's going to be taking a plea.
Okay. Well, you're more than welcome to join us. Miss Grace, if you could please courtroom 2, ASG Simmons, Miss McLeod, myself, and Miss Lewis in a breakout. And Kasha,
And
please.
Kasha. Okay, Judge.
Thank you. All right, courtroom 2 or medical, if they're available. Is the deputy there? Can they give us an update on Mr. McGee? Ogaris McGee? No? Okay. Ms. Kim and Ms. Simmons and Ms. Mokeke, I'm just going to go over the calendar. I just want to make sure y'all are there.
Yes.
Either one could start their video. Ms. Simmons or Ms. Oh, okay. On the bench warrant calendar, I think we set aside everyone's bench warrant with the exception of Stevenson. Would that be correct?
That is what I have, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
On the SAP calendar, Mr. Emoji was a plea for positions 1 and 2, and position 3 and 4 were null crossed. Position 5, DeMonte Bob. Mr. Shatay?
I received a waiver of arraignment just now on that, Judge.
Okay. So position 5 and 6 is going to be a waiver of arraignment and further notice for trial. Position 7 and 8, Boykins, is a waiver of arraignment and further notice for trial. Ozine Brown is a waiver and further notice for trial. That's position 9 and 10. Position 11, Raven Burnett, was a plea. Position 12 was null cross. Position 13, Miles Cameron, and that is reset to February 27th. Ms. Kim and Mr. Shatay, you understand that we cannot accommodate them for the 18th, so it'll be February 27th. Position 14 is reset to February 27th. Position 15, Chase, was a plea. 16 was null cross. 17, Chapman is a waiver and further notice for trial. Position 18, as well as 18 is Akita Cole and 19 is Christopher Coleman.
They're all were transferred, Judge. We did receive the transfer orders for Superior Court, and they do have PI numbers.
Okay, so 18 and 19 are transferred to felony court, Superior Court. 20 was a plea, 21 Dawson was a plea, 22 and 23, Mr. Agles was released, so his case is further notice. Position 24, Findley, was a plea, 25 is null cross, 26 Gress is a plea, 27 is null cross, 28 is a plea, 29, 30, 31, reset to February 27th at 9 a.m. 32, Nicholas Mack.
He's released.
All right. So that's, sorry.
It's gonna be reset further notice.
Okay, thank you. Position 33 was a plea. 34 is further notice for trial. I think that was Miss Morris. So bonds have been amended and all cases have been further noticed to be addressed by Judge Edline. That's from 34 through 38. Willie Murray, position 39, and that's going to be a waiver, and so that's going to be further notice for trial. Okay, moving on. 40 was a plea. 41, Joseph Parks, is reset to March 4th. Would that be correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Hello?
Right, 44 is.
Hey, good, there's nothing how
42 is reset to February 27th. I thought I heard Mr. Bartel. So
Yes, he's here, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Bartel, this is 42 Hiran Patel. We're going to reset him to February 27 competency.
Okay, yeah, I did get an email about that, Your Honor.
Okay.
Who was that judge again? Position what?
Hiran Patel, position 42. They asked for it to be reset to February 20th.
It's going on a competency calendar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he has a social worker visit pending, Your Honor.
Okay, but Miss Lewis, can we accommodate him next?
Yeah, we can accommodate him on the 20th for the competency calendar. That's no problem. It's just the SAP.
All right, so February 20th at 11 a.m. pending social worker visit. 43 Postel is reset to February 27. 44 and 45 is released, and that's going to be further notice for trial. 46 was a plea. 47 is a waiver of arraignment and further notice. Same announcement. 48 waiver of arraignment and bond was amended. 49 Steger, he had positions 49, 50, 51. Those were all pleas. 52 Javon Swint is released and further notice. Tinsley is reset, that's position 53, reset to February 27th. Waldrop is a plea. 55 Lawrence West is a plea. 56 Wickware was a plea, and 57 Wickware is null pros.
Your Honor, Mr. West was not a plea.
Well, Mr. West, no, Mr. West was not a plea. 55 is amended bond order to $4,000 surety.
Oh, I'm so sorry, and that was a waiver of arraignment and further notice.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
Your Honor.
which is reset to trial, further notice, and amended bond order.
No, that was my mistake. I wrote it down as the plea on the calendar. I meant it for another one. Sorry.
Thank you. 53 judge, that person was released, so that's gonna be further notice. 53 was released.
Didn't I say that? Or did I put a reset? I'm so sorry. 53 is a release, is it?
Yeah, 52 and 53 were released.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. That's just an update to Tinsley. So Tinsley is a release and further notice for trial.
Correct.
Okay. Any other changes or corrections? No?
I think everything else is good.
All right.
I just need.
Yeah, Miss Kim, Mr. Bartel, and Mr. Chate and Mr. White, y'all are free to go. Whoever has to address the plea for Mr. McGee, either Miss Mokeke or Miss Simmons, please remain. And then and let's find out from the jail whether Mr. McGee is going to be produced today. Do we have anyone from the jail? I have an I. Williams, CA. Is that courthouse staff?
This is the court associate, Isis Williams.
No problem. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. I don't know what to tell you, Miss McLeod.
He's there, Your Honor, because I've spoken to him since today.
Okay. Miss Kim, if you're still in courtroom 2, is there a deputy there? All right. Miss Lewis, we can pause the live stream and the recording, and we're going to be in recess for another 5 minutes. It's 12. Well, let's just hold till 12:35, and if no one shows up, I'm going to have to conclude the calendar because I don't have anything else left.
Okay. Miss Grace, did you hear that? She has control of it. I'm just a co-host. Miss Grace?
I'm here. I couldn't hear you because you.
The judge actually stopped the recording and live stream for right now because we're in recess.
Stop the live stream.
Stop the live stream and stop the recording. We'll be in recess until 12:35. If the jail produces Mr. McGee for his plea will be able to address it. Otherwise, court is concluded. And we're gonna have to squeeze Mr. McGee into the Tuesday, February.
Will that date work for you, Ms. McLeod?
I was just wondering if we could take his plea on the SEA if we can't find him. Because he's really anxious to get to Union City and kind of get his life going. He's been in jail a long time.
Ms. McLeod, I would love to take his plea, and today would be Judge Morrow at 2 o'clock.
They got a handful calendar. They got 23 folks.
I can take him tomorrow at 2 o'clock. That would be a guarantee.
Yes, Your Honor. I will make myself available for that because he calls me several times a day. You know, he's so anxious to get out.
That's why I'm going to wait till 12:35, and we will try to get to the jail and see what's going on. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Recess. Thank you. Ms. Lewis, can you call courtroom 2 and see if anyone's there?
Yeah, I can try to reach out to them and see if anybody, are they on the line?
I see Miss